I don't want them to gain another yard. You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm gonna take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. You got a dream, you gotta protect it.
He won't sell anybody out to buy his future. And that, my friends, is called integrity. That's called courage. Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Right, let's go. How y'all feeling today? Look at y'all up early, on time. Proud of you. Even Garrett Hollyfield's on time this morning. Probably because he stayed at my house last night. We got him up. But good morning to y'all. Are y'all ready for an action-packed lineup the next 2 days? Yeah. I hope you are. Information-filled, inspiration-filled. Hey, we're in a church, maybe even spirit-filled. Is that right, Craig? With that championship spirit, that NASB spirit. And one thing's common for all of us, whether you were drafted here, signed here through free agency, through a trade, however you came about to NASB, you know you're on a championship team. Not only leading the final expense industry, but also y'all in this room are leading NASB to new heights. So I'm excited to be with you for hosting this event here the next 2 days. Let me give y'all the agenda real quick, just so you can, as y'all are the builders in this room, y'all are the leaders, managers, you want to make sure you promote this to your team and make sure everybody's on time tomorrow morning. In fact, tomorrow we want to get started a little bit earlier. We want to start right at 9 o'clock tomorrow, as Chad Milner is going to be kicking things off tomorrow. So make sure your guys aren't caught up in traffic tomorrow. Get here early. That's the only time Chad's going to be speaking. Then he's being followed up tomorrow morning by Craig Harvey, who Craig is locked and loaded. He's ready. I've gone over some of the content with him. I think he's stolen some of my content, but he is ready tomorrow morning. And then we got a full day of sales tomorrow. We're going to hear from you guys from the top, from the elite agents on how you do what you do. And then we're finishing up tomorrow morning. I think y'all heard this week that we brought in a top 50 speaker from Forbes magazine. We don't play games. When we go for a special guest speaker, we go straight to the top. In fact, the cool thing about him is he's actually coming on with NASB. So not only is he top 50, he's coming on to sell with you guys. So that's tomorrow. Today, just to let you know how things are going to run today, this session will lead you up till about noon. We're going to have lunch catered here and sponsored by Mutual of Omaha and Liberty Bankers. So thank Omaha and Bankers when you see them. And that's going to be honey-baked ham lunch. They've got different selections. Then after lunch, we want to hustle because at 1 o'clock, we're starting the carrier and annuity workshops. And you guys have signed up, I believe. If you haven't signed up for a class yet, just see me at lunch. We've got some room for some of the classes. And that way you get all your information on carriers this afternoon. Then tonight, we got the leaders' dinner. If you weren't invited, just step your game up. You'll be invited next time. But let's focus in. Right now, we got less than 3 hours for this session, which to me is the most important. Y'all know this is the builder session. How many builders do we have out there? How many people want to build a team, build an agency powered by NASB, build your income? So that's what we're going to focus on here. We're going to talk a lot of specifics. If you would, man, get ready to take some notes. You're going to want to take some notes on some of the things Craig talks about, some of the other leaders. Keith Thomason's going to spend an hour with you on how he's built what he's built. And as Craig says, paper never forgets. It's been a lot of times I heard something in a conference, and 6 months later, I'm trying to rack my brain to remember what was said. And if you don't write it down, you're not going to be able to pull that. So if you're like me, though, I lose paper. So if you want to take notes, I would do it on your iPad, iPhone. Just limit the texting, limit the social media, because you never get back this next 3 hours. So we're going to get into details in just a second, specifics. But let me give y'all 3 rules of building, at least on our team. If you want to build on our team, we've got 3 rules that really you need your mentality right first. I don't care if you have all the mechanics right, all the specifics. If your mentality's right, just like in selling, you could say all the right things to the client, but if you don't say it the right way, if you don't have the right attitude up front, you won't get the results. So rule number 1, if you are taking notes, is you've got to become the leader that people would want to work with. Now the key word there is with. I hear a lot of people that want to start building. They're like, Jordan, man, if you can just help me get 10 agents under me, if I could just find 15 agents, Craig, that would be under me, guys, remove that from your vocabulary, please. Nobody wants to work under you. This is not a multi-level marketing company. We're nothing bad about those companies, but that's not who we are. You want to find people, and you want to be the leader that people would want to follow, that they would want to work with, that they would want to go places with, that they want to work alongside you. So make sure that's your mentality, number one. Number two, understand that building is not going to be easy. Is it, Stephen Dean? Is it, Scott Davis? Building's not easy. Just like we say, well, you've heard pimping's not easy. I don't know. But we said balling's not easy, especially if your last name's Van Hanswick or Can Robert. Balling's not easy for those guys. Well, building's not going to be easy. And look, we really don't want it to be easy, do we? Anything easy in life's not going to be truly rewarding. Anything easy in life, especially in a career, is not going to be lucrative. I mean, if it was easy to build and easy to get to $250,000, $500,000 a year income, if it was easy to do that, guess what? The insurance carriers wouldn't pay big commissions. They wouldn't pay big overrides. In fact, if it was easy, they would do it themselves. So we don't want it to be too easy, but today we're going to try to help it be a little bit simpler for you. There are some things that work that, I'm not qualified to teach on too many things. Craig may tell you he's not too qualified to teach on too many things, but one thing that we can show you is how we built what we built within this model. We all have the same opportunity. In fact, I would tell y'all today, starting where y'all are starting, even if you're brand new, you've got a better opportunity up front to have quick success than even we did. There's more infrastructure. We've had more experience of what works, what doesn't work, so y'all can glean from that. You can learn from that. Then number three, if you're taking notes here, write this down, please. Success is what you attract by the person you become. So this is a builder session. This is a growth conference. You could word it this way. You could say the growth that you want to have, or you say it this way. For the team you want to build, the team that you want to attract, if you want to build, it's going to be based upon the person and the leader you grow into. Now, the key word there is grow. We just said building's not going to be easy. You know why? Because growth is never easy. Growth requires us to stretch our capacity. It requires us to change. Change is never easy. So because of that, we're always looking for ways to stretch, to grow, to become better in certain ways. It's not going to be easy. You got to understand that. But on days that it doesn't feel easy to you, on days that you feel like giving up, on days that you feel like, man, is it really worth it to build? I want y'all to say this to yourself. And some of y'all have seen this movie, The Field of Dreams. How many baseball fans in here? I know Zach Gurley played baseball, Jake, Garrett. Remember in Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner plays this guy he's got this dream to build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, Tim. It's out in Iowa, and he's got all these negative detractors. He's got these people telling him he can't do it. Why would you want to do it? That's crazy. But he kept hearing this voice in his head that said, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. It kept whispering in his head. Well, what did it mean? If he built the field, people would come. His wife saw it as income would come. Income would start coming in. Same thing in this business. When days feel tough, when weeks feel tough, say that to yourself. If I build it, they will come, Randy. If I build it, they will come. Who's going to come? People. I knew 3 years ago, if I built this, y'all would come. You know what else comes? Them dollar bills come in. That money starts coming in as you build it. So what do you build? You've got to build yourself. You've got to build the right habits. You've got to build the right foundation early on. You want to start making decisions early on like you've already got 50 people duplicating everything you do. That's the key in building. Some people will tell me, Jordan, man, I'll make the right decisions. I'll come to events like this. I'll do the proper habits. I'll do what it takes when I've got 10 people on my team. You'll never have 10. You've got to start making those decisions before you have them. So those are 3 rules that you just kind of want right in your head mentally before you get started. Let me give y'all some numbers real quick, and then we're going to get into our first topic. This is pretty cool. I like to do this. I like to go back, and today's November 5th. So I looked at the first week of November 3 years ago. So 2012, first week of November, just to see what we did as a team. Same time of year, first week. So these are the numbers from first week of November 2012. We did as a team 21,000 in production. Buddy, we had 11 agents. So you could tell we were just killing it. 11 agents, only 21,000 in premium. Craig, I don't know what we were teaching back then. Anyway, 21,000, we had 42 applications written that week. That counts me in the field. Jason Van Hanswick and Graham Hurst were the only 2 agents still with us. A year later, just so some of y'all realize how real this opportunity can be for you, how you can realize what you can do in a year. A year later, fast forward, first week in November 2013, anybody know what we did as a team? What you guys did? A lot of y'all were the catalyst. A lot of y'all were the benefactors of this. 250,000 of premium, first week in November 2013, 400 applications. From 20,000, 52 weeks later, 250,000. How many of y'all are ready for some growth like that in your team? Stand up if you're ready for some growth like that, Greg. Come on now. Hey, 52 weeks later, so the next year, so we went from 40 apps, first week in November 2012, first week in November 2013 to 400 apps. 52 weeks later, we jumped to 600 apps. You guys did 600 apps the next November. I hope some of y'all see that as a vision for your team. You realize that you can do it. What any person can do in this system, somebody else can do. I shared this with the RVP Summit down in Atlanta, and then we're going to move on here to the first training. But I like comedies. I know Leah will give me a hard time about referencing Dumb and Dumber. How many of y'all seen Dumb and Dumber? Jim Carrey. Remember the last scene in that movie when they're basically walking off in the sunset, they're feeling down, they're feeling depressed, and they're like, man, when are we going to catch an opportunity? When is something going to come our way? And all of a sudden this bus pulls up out of nowhere, and these hot like bikini models step off. Craig, you remember this? And they're like, hey, guys, we're looking for 2 guys to ride with us all summer, to lotion us up, get us ready for our bikini competitions. You stay with us, you live with us, you eat with us, you're paid. Again, did I say you lotion us up before every bikini competition? And so they look at each other, and they're like, you're in luck. There's a town about 2 miles that way. I'm sure you'll find 2 guys down there. So the girls are like, okay. So then Jim Carrey realizes, and he looks at his friend, and he goes, do you realize what you've done? And he runs down the bus. He says, I'm sorry. My friend's a little slow. The town is back that way. And so then they're walking off, and they're like, man, can you believe they're looking for 2 lucky guys? When is the opportunity going to come our way, Rachel? Some of y'all, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and you're looking at it the same way Jim Carrey did. You're looking at it the same way Dumb and Dumber did, and you're letting it go right over your head. I hope y'all realize the opportunity. You can make a lot of money selling in this business. You can make 100, 150, 200. We're going to hear from Rob tomorrow that made 180,000 his first 6 months. I made 180,000 my first 6 months here selling. So you can make good money selling, but you can make some phenomenal, life-changing money by building if you grasp what we're about to talk about. $250,000, $500,000. Craig will show you how to make $2 million a year plus. So y'all ready to get into it? You ready to dive in? All right. Well, so we talked about first it takes leading yourself. Even before you have a team, you lead yourself. That's how you build your foundation. But eventually, to manage, to grow, you've got to find people, right? There's 2 types of people you can find and hire. We're going to talk about warm market and cold market. But we're going to talk about warm market first because warm market always leads to fast growth compared to cold market. Plus, you're going to find your better agents through warm market. The better people out there, the more talented salespeople, guess what they're not doing? They're not looking on Craigslist every day. Now, yes, sometimes you're going to get lucky and find some winners on Craigslist, on Indeed, different websites. But I know from my business, for Craig's business, most of our top people have come from somehow a warm market connection. So how do you do that? How do you talk to people? How do you approach them? To help me with that, let's go ahead and bring to the stage 2 phenomenal warm market recruiters, Mr. Dave, the living legend Stewart, and Garrett, the real deal Holyfield. Come on up, guys. Guys, let me ask y'all this. If you knew, a lot of y'all have heard Dave Stewart's story. You've heard Garrett Holyfield. I'm going to have him share with you real quick. Dave came from no insurance background. Was working at FedEx. Still got off to a great warm market start, even though he had no background in insurance. Garrett was kind of the opposite. He'd spent 3 years in the insurance industry, so had a little bit of experience here. Both of them still, though, had phenomenal success early on. And here's what I would ask y'all. I guarantee everybody in this room, you know a Garrett Holyfield. You have a Dave Stewart somewhere in your cell phone. The question is, why haven't you talked to him yet? Maybe you're waiting to figure out the right technique. Maybe you're waiting to have success. Of course, the more success you have, you can point to that story. But both of these guys started warm market recruiting before they had the success to point to. So let's talk about that, guys. First off, introduce yourself. Give us your background quickly, Dave. How did you find NASB? And then we'll go to Garrett.
Yeah, I'm Dave Stewart. My background's pretty simple. I was a FedEx driver when I was introduced to this company, and I was bringing home about $624 a week after taxes and going backwards financially. And by the grace of God, this company came along. And I jumped on it with both feet and just hung on, didn't let go, did everything they told me to do, and the rest is history. I mean, I've had a lot of success basically just following the system, doing exactly what you're going to learn this weekend, exactly what they tell you to do. It's not rocket science, just do what they tell you to do, and you can duplicate the same type of success.
Dave, real quick, how much did you make your first month? Net deposits, so we're not talking back-end money yet. We're talking counting chargebacks. What did you make your first month with NASB?
Just under 11,000 my first month.
Okay.
Yep. Which is a big difference in 624 a week, I can tell you that. It changed everything for our family, and I'm just grateful. I mean, we were able to move, upgrade the vehicles, do all the stuff. It's just nice being able to tell my family yes for change instead of always telling them no.
All right, Garrett, how did we find you? Where'd you come from?
First off, I guess you found me through Jacob Faggart, which is one of our guys that work here as well.
Where's Jake? Jake here yet?
No, he's still sleeping. Somewhere. No, he's not even here. But he worked with me at Western Southern, company I work for with Josh Earl and a couple other guys 6 years ago. And just wasn't working for me. I wanted to kind of do something else. I went into IT recruiting, so I kind of got a good feel of how to recruit. But sitting in an office all day, getting told what to do wasn't my cup of tea. So I was looking. Jake told me, he's like, this opportunity came along. He said, you need to ride with Chris Canrobert. He'll be the one to show you the way. So I said, man, all right, I don't even know who this cat is. I meet Chris, and we go to this one house first time, and people are laying on the floor. There's like mattresses everywhere. Couple bugs run across, and I was like, man, this ain't even it. This is not even what I want to do. And I just saw the process. I saw the everything that he went from a lead to the process of how to make the sale. Made the sale, and I literally, as soon as I walked out, he's like, come on, we got a next appointment. I was like, I don't even need to see no more. I'm going back to my office. I'm going to go ahead and tell him this is over. I'm coming on. So it was a wrap from there. I did that part-time for 3 weeks, and I was making more part-time, working 6 hours a week with NASB than I was at my full-time job. So common sense tells you to move on. So that's what I did.
You know what's crazy about both these guys' stories? Both of them came from Warren Market. Both of them we found, but we didn't necessarily know them. And this is why some of y'all are thinking right now with Jordan, man, I don't have a Warren Market. I don't have that much influence with people. I don't know that many people. Or I've already talked to all my Warren Market. Well, you constantly can add to your Warren Market. Both of these guys came, for instance, Dave, for instance, came from a connection Keith Thomason had. Keith knew a buddy that was not going to get started in insurance. He actually had a felony, I believe, so he couldn't get licensed. But he was a center of influence. He knew some people. So he started recruiting for Keith. And all of a sudden, he leads Keith to Randy Lanier. He leads Keith to Dave Stewart. For Garrett, you know how we found Garrett? I had been licensed for, I guess, a little bit under 2 years, and I was still every single day actively thinking, who can I contact? Who do I know from my past? So I sent one day my old boss, who I worked for like 2 weeks. He was a top guy in the company. I sent him the deposits we had made that month. Didn't even really know this guy, but I was like, who can I talk to that's successful? Sent him my deposits. He got excited. He told his nephew, who was already licensed, his nephew was like, man, I'm not making money in insurance. I'm licensed. Let's go. His nephew knew knew Garrett. Garrett, you had 21 writing agents last week, right? By the way, guys, the cool thing about insurance, it doesn't take 1,000 agents like in multi-level marketing to make good money. You have 15 agents that write business, just 15. Now, that's more than 15 contracted. But Dennis, if you have 15, that's it, 15 agents in the field, most of y'all would make $8,000 to $10,000 a month just off that production on a base override. Now, it needs to be properly structured. It can't be all through one team, Brandon. But so 21 agents last week. So y'all can do the math on what Garrett's making. Garrett, what'd you make your first year with us?
Right after taxes and all that good stuff after the end of the year, after paying Uncle Sam, right around 180 after paying everything.
First year, and you had months 30,000. What's your best month with us?
29,000.
Okay.
29,000 1 month.
How old are you?
29 until 2 more weeks.
And you're single, just for the record?
I have a girlfriend.
Right. All right.
But I'm not married.
So 21 writing agents. And listen, I want y'all to hear this. 21 writing agents last week, so active agents. How many of those came from Warren Market?
I would say probably every single one of them. Every single one of them.
Next question. How many did you know personally?
Probably 75% of them.
Okay. I was thinking it was less than that. So he's finding Warren Market who he knows. He's finding Warren Market who he knows, but also he's leveraging who other people know. Let's stay on this real quick, because a couple agents you've hired, Julie Ulrey, Clay Weemhoff. Is Clay here? Clay, new agent? Clay, nice to meet you. I'll meet you later. So both of these guys and girls, you found Warren Market, but you didn't priorly know them. They weren't in your cell phone. You met them, and then were able to offer the opportunity. What was said when you come across that chance encounter? What do you say to pique interest, to check interest, to sell our opportunity?
Well, one good thing and one thing that I like to do and I have done is I have a center of influence for me. I have somebody that I know that's in front of people all the time help me recruit, because I can't recruit all the time. I'm out in the field selling as well, but I have to have somebody else out there that's actively looking for sharp individuals. That happened to be my dad, and he was out, working or whatever at our apartment complex, and came across Julie, who came in there, who wanted to rent an apartment from them. Just so happened that she was getting, I think, licensed or was licensed and was going to go work for another insurance company. And my dad said, no, you don't need to go there. You need to talk to my son first. I promise you, he's doing well. He's like, he has an opportunity for you that you couldn't pass up. And so I sat down with Julie and went over everything with her, and that was how I connected with her. Same thing with Clay. We used to go in there and to his restaurant and eat all the time. My dad sat down with him. My parents would go in there all the time, and they sat down with him and kind of went over everything. And we came in after a Panthers game one time, and he was like, man, y'all just live the lifestyle, man. He's like, y'all just have so much fun. He's like, I want to know how you do this. And I think it was me and Jake, and came in after a Panthers game. The next morning, we still had our jerseys on, so you could imagine the fun that we had. But he wanted part of that, and I think that's one of the biggest things that people connect with is the bond, that you're having fun, you're having a great time, but you're still working and making money.
All right, let's go to Dave, because, Dave, you didn't have any insurance background, but still started recruiting right off the bat. What were some of the things for maybe new agents, some of the highlights, how you would communicate to somebody? What did you funnel people to the 201 or the 101 calls, to the videos? What would you do?
Yeah, when I started out, I didn't have a story, so I just borrowed another story. I basically used Keith. As a matter of fact, the day Keith came to train me, we were supposed to go out, and we spent like the first 2.5 hours on the phone, because I just started calling people that were sharp, that I knew, centers of influence, friends that I knew that maybe were disgruntled with what they were currently doing for a living. And I get them on the phone and tell them, hey, I don't know a lot about what it is that we do with the insurance, but I want to tell you something. The company, I've had a chance to meet the people in the company. It's legit. The people are real. I just talk from my heart, basically. I didn't have really a canned speech that I told them. I just told them what my story was. Most of them knew it because they know you. So I didn't lie about anything. I just said, hey, you knew that I was struggling with this. You knew that I was a FedEx driver, but this is what I'm looking at doing. I'd like you to talk to a guy named Keith Thomason. Let me tell you about what success he's had and why I'm excited about this company. So initially, you want to kind of be the invitation to the message, not necessarily the message itself, because you don't have your own story. So you have to just utilize someone else's story or borrow a story. Like this weekend, you guys are going to be meeting a lot of people that are successful. Find out their stories. Find out what it is about their background, because when you meet somebody or you know somebody yourself and you know that what their background is, you can connect. You can say, you know something, I know this one guy that did this with the company. Let me tell you about him. I've had people call me that are not even in my organization at all and ask me, hey, will you talk to so-and-so for me, because they were a UPS driver or they're a FedEx driver. And they're utilizing me, and that's great. So you guys have access to utilize all these leaders as well, not just people in your own upline, but cross-line as well.
So Dave, you've hired, I love hearing examples. You've hired Bob Brown, was a Warren Market contact. Yep. You've hired your buddy in California, Brian.
Yep. Ryan
McMahon. Yep. Give some examples here of what was said to them. What kind of some of these guys you didn't even know very well, right? Didn't Ryan was kind of a Facebook contact?
No. I knew Ryan from before. Actually, Ryan and I were in another organization a while back, and we just stayed in touch. Had a real estate business for a while, and Ryan worked with our company in Charlotte. And so I knew he was really sharp, and I knew he was kind of probably maybe looking for something. I kind of had an idea about what kind of income he was making. So when I contacted him, I'll be honest with you, I first contacted him, he's like, what are you into now? I mean, that was his reaction. Actually, most people that I contacted, that was the first thing they said, what are you into now? So I just had to kind of overcome that by just talking to them and saying, look, I know we've done some things in the past. And, the thing is, we got to keep swinging. We got to keep until we find something. I honestly believe that this is that something. And then I talk a little bit about the company, talk a little bit about the background, get them on the website, and then refer them to a third-party call. That's huge, especially when you're new and you don't really know what to say to somebody. Utilize the tools. The 101 call, plug them into that. That's every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Then that's on the regular team call-in number that you guys use in the mornings. And then also the website. Use the website and get them on there. And then it's important, get them on the phone with someone else. If you can't meet them in person, certainly do a three-way call. Does everybody in here know what a three-way call is? Raise your hand if you know what a three-way call is. If you do know what it is. Okay. Yeah, so basically all you're doing is you're either linking in or you might be with them live, but you call somebody like Keith Thomason or call Jordan or somebody like that or somebody in your upline and you just have a conversation with them. Turn the phone over and let them talk to them. And it's not some spiel that he does. Other than just he gets to know them a little bit, find out a little bit about their background. I'd say the main thing that helped me with my warm market recruiting is I just was aware of what different people had issues with at that time. Some people might have wanted more money. Some people might have just been miserable and trying to get out of the current job that they're in. Some people might have wanted, more time freedom. Whatever it is, it's important for you to kind of discover what that is so that you can show them how this business will meet those needs. Not just have, say, the same thing over and over again, because if you had the same type of approach over and over again, you might not be able to connect with everybody. But if you find out and listen more than you talk, you find out exactly what it is that their pain is, then it's easy for you to take a platform like this or introduce them to somebody like Garrett or one of the other leaders to be able to talk to them, to explain to them how this platform can basically change their life and change that issue.
Guys, are y'all using the 101? Every Tuesday night, it's free for you guys to be able to use a great tool. Not only do we have the video that you can send people to anytime on the website, where if you put people in front of Craig, sometimes virtually, but you put him in front of Craig, he's going to sell the opportunity for you. Same thing with the 101 call every Tuesday night, where we run sometimes live, but we at least have a recording playing of either Keith Thomason, Craig, Dave, myself. We've also got these recorded. So like Dave was saying, if you recruit a guy and you think, man, their background, he's a pastor, he's going to really relate to Keith, send them the 101 for Keith. If maybe they're a young guy and they might relate more to me, use my recording. So also the morning conference call is huge. A lot of y'all aren't funneling your new prospects to the morning call. When they hear that much excitement, I think Justin was telling me yesterday, he said that, where's Justin? There you are. He said a lot of your guys were excited when they heard the morning call and they heard all the numbers, they heard the excitement, then they heard how to do it. That's going to sell the opportunity too. So if you consider yourself maybe not a great recruiter, hey, use the system to recruit for you. Garrett?
Can I add one more thing about the 101 call?
Yes.
You guys probably have gotten on there and you've heard there's recordings on there. So some weeks we pay the recording. So you're hearing the same thing perhaps that you've heard the week before. But guys, the people you're talking to, they haven't. It's brand new to them. So if you have the excitement of that call and act like it's a live call that's being done, it's being recorded and playing live, right? But this live call that's being done, it's the leaders of our company. They're going to be going over the platform. They're going to be talking about what makes this company great and kind of talking about, dissecting what it is that we do with this company and how we make money and refer people to that call. But the problem is I've had a couple people tell me that were on my team, it's like, well, but it's the same call. Yeah, for you it might be, but not for the people that you're recruiting and referring to. So just because it's the same call, plug into it. And guys, you should be listening to it as well. Because what will happen is I listen to it every week. Even though I've heard the calls multiple times, I still listen to it every week because somebody will say something. Jordan might say something. Craig Harvey might say something. Keith might say something. Jason, somebody will say something in a way that's like, I like the way they said that. Or it puts another perspective on it that might help me be better at what I do. So just because you've heard it, don't discount it. It's a good call.
Well, good point, David. Look, guys, recruiting's it's the same as selling a client, except instead of selling insurance, you're starting to sell the opportunity. So just like you learn how to sell clients by riding along, you learn by riding along, you learn by doing an in and up phone call, you get Dave on the phone with your client, you listen to what he's saying. After you've done it 5-10 times, you start sounding like Dave. Same thing in recruiting. When you listen to Craig Harvey's video, you listen to the 101 calls, you start to communicate the same way to your potential recruits. But also, did y'all hear what Dave said? You don't necessarily want the same exact pitch every single time. If I'm recruiting Dusty, I'm going to find out what's important to Dusty. If I'm recruiting Buddy, I'm going to find out what's important to Buddy, and listening in the beginning, then you show them how our opportunity can get what they want. For Buddy, he may have wanted time. He may have wanted lifestyle. For Dusty, he may just want to make killer income. Whatever it might be. Some people just might want a flexible schedule. But you've got to be able to find that out from the prospect. Garrett, let's talk about who you're looking for. Because I hear two different trains of thoughts. For me, I wanted everybody. I mean, I didn't really want to limit myself. I was like Keith Thomason. I would hire anybody in the beginning, but then I started learning, all right, everybody, Gary, I hire, it's like I'm co-signing a loan with them. It's like I'm signing on a credit card, giving them an unlimited, uncapped credit card, so you may not necessarily want to hire everybody. We talk about hiring closet winners that maybe, nobody knows they're a winner. They haven't had the fruit on the tree yet, but deep down they're a winner. I was looking for people that were successful. That's just who I was looking for. I would hire anybody in the beginning, but I wanted somebody that had some type of success. If they were a shoe shine person, as long as they were successful at doing that. If they were a gas station attendant, whatever they did, as long as they did it with passion, as long as they had success with it, that's what I wanted. So if somebody succeeded elsewhere, chances are they can translate that and succeed in our model. Garrett, you've hired a lot of successful people. You hired Zach Gurley, Warren Market. Zach's #1 agent currently year to date, #1 in the whole region. You knew him if he was your baseball coach, right? Mm-hmm. You've hired, again, Josh Sherrill. Josh Sherrill was his old manager. I'll tell y'all a funny story. And this is so true, guys. You've got people on your warm market that if you don't talk to, you're going to see them here next year working with somebody else. Keith, am I right? This happens all the time. Justin, I actually met Justin and saw him last night, and I didn't offer the opportunity to him. Well, I remember Josh Sherrill. He was your old manager at Western Southern. And I told Garrett a year before Josh came on, I said, man, we need to talk to this guy. We need to offer it to him. And Garrett was like, well, he was my manager. He kind of trained me, everything I knew. And 12 months later, he ended up coming on with us. So Garrett, who are you looking for? Are you looking for a particular type of person?
No, I'm not really looking for a particular type per se. I'm looking for somebody that who has ambition, who's out there goal-oriented, but young and energetic, wanting to make money. I mean, everybody's, says they want to, but to actually get out there and field train with me 3-4 times before we even contract them is the people that are going to stick with me is going to stick with you guys. They have to see the opportunity first. They have to see where we go, how we do it. It's not glitz and glamour. It's not the prettiest job in the world, but we're helping a lot of people and we're making good money doing it. And I let people see that up front. Once they see that up front and they're ready to go and they still have that fire, that passion in them, I want them. It doesn't matter what they had. Sales background's great. Successfulness is great. But anything being passionate about it. I remember Josh, I knew a good time to bring him on was he was just passionate about everything. It didn't matter if we were doing an event. It didn't matter if we were going out to recruit one person. If we were having a donut party in the office, he was passionate about it. He wanted it. He wanted it more than anything. That's the reason why I kind of approached him later on about it. But passion's a big thing for people, and they'll go a long way in this.
So guys, if you want a little track here to run on when you're talking to people, use this acronym. This is Craig's acronym. I'm going to borrow it here. It's SHORT. So SHORT is the acronym. S stands for story, where you're telling a little bit about your story, how you found NASB, what it's done for you, where you came from. You want to relate to them. Anytime I'm recruiting somebody, if I'm recruiting Dusty, multiple times in that conversation, I'm going to say, Dusty, man, I was just like you. I was looking for the same thing. Same thing I do with clients. I'm relating to them in this part. So you tell your story first. The H is for history. That's where you want to talk a little bit about the demographics. You talk a little bit about final expense, where it's going, how big the industry is. The O is for opportunity, the opportunity they have. Y'all realize that sometimes the more money you're making, because some of y'all are thinking, Tim, well, man, of course I can recruit if I'm Garrett or Dave, if I'm making $30,000 in a month, if I'm making $11,000 my first month. Yes, that helps, but you can all of us recruited before we were making that money. I recruited Jason Van Hanswick my first month, Theron Alexander my first month, Brian Moody, who led to Scott Davis, my first month. I wasn't making that much money at that point. So you want to borrow stories. You can borrow from people, but also people don't necessarily care about what you're making. They care about how much they can make. If I tell somebody right now, if I've got a brand new prospect and I tell them what I'm making, Bubba, they don't care. They want to know. You want to know what you can make in this opportunity because you probably think, well, of course I'm making money now. I've got whatever I've been able to do. So they want to know if they can make money, if the opportunity is real for them. That's what you're hitting, an opportunity. R is maybe the most important, and that's the ride along. Please don't make the mistake of spending so much time with prospects before you ride along with them, because everybody can sound good on the phone. Anybody can sound good at Starbucks when you meet. Craig, we talk about this. Everybody's a hard worker. Everybody's the hardest worker you've ever met. Everybody is the most passionate. They're going to sell the most. All right, get in the car with me, because that does a couple things. That's where you really sell the opportunity on them. Because here's what they buy. They buy you when you ride along with them. They're buying you, okay? They're buying if they think that their career is going to be better when they ride with you. Also, what it does is it doesn't waste your time. How many of y'all spent just a lot of time wasted in Starbucks for an hour, 2 hours with a recruit only to never come on? So as you're starting to build, it's kind of a seesaw here where you've got to be able to stay in the moment. You've got to be able to stay productive, making money for yourself. And that way you get to know the prospect too with the car. You find out a lot about them in the day in the car. So that's the R in short. And then T is training. Is that right, Craig? T, training? Training. So that's continued training. That's then getting them on the conference call. That's getting them on the 101 call. That's getting them on the webinars. Dave, what do you want to add to that there?
I think everything that you hit's good. A couple things, though, that I would add on there is, when you initially talk to somebody, we were talking about trying to find out what their pain was or whatever. I try to only talk to people that I know have good attitude. I mean, I'll mirror everything pretty much he said, but one of the big things I like is I like attitude. I like somebody that's got the right drive and the right enthusiasm. Doesn't matter if experience. I don't care. I mean, look at me. If somebody saw me driving a FedEx truck, they'd think to themselves, well, I'll never hire that guy. I mean, what has he ever done? He's driving a FedEx truck. Well, that could be a bad decision on their part. So I try to, what was that? I like to look for people that have the right attitude and approach to life. That's really what you're looking for. You're looking for that. I've made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I signed a lot of people up just kind of with the philosophy of, I'll just throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks. And that causes a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of ups and downs. You want to kind of narrow it down. You know somebody that's pretty lazy and they don't do much anything. I mean, even if they're interested in being in the business, what are they really going to do now? I mean, if they're not a go-getter, what are they just going to all of a sudden be a go-getter now? It's probably not going to happen. So, and one other thing I'd like to say is this is, if somebody has the right attitude, don't prejudge in that. You never know what somebody will do when you hand them an opportunity like this. So it's pretty weird. I've had people that I thought would be questionable. I wasn't sure if they'd make it or not that did really well. I also had some people that I thought would do really well because they had good skill sets that didn't make it. So you never quite know exactly what someone's going to do until you give them the opportunity. So look for the right people, but don't prejudge in that. You say, well, so-and-so would never want to do something like this. They're already successful. They wouldn't like this. Because you never know where somebody's coming from. I mean, Randy Lanier had a successful construction background. He's made millions in the past. So if I were outside and say, I worked for Randy one summer selling pools. He hired me and I sold pools for him. So instead of me thinking, well, gosh, Randy would never, ever listen to me, I just happened to know by talking with Randy and being friends with Randy, I knew some of the pain points Randy had. So I structured the business opportunity in a way that would meet those pain points. And when I talked to him, the light bulb went on. And he says, you know something, I want to take a good look at this. And that's how he came on board. And Keith had talked to him before. Yeah, and do a ride-along, absolutely. And if you can't do a ride-along, let's say you're talking to somebody and they're far away, because I know, like, I'm in a rural area. I don't have the luxury of being in a big city. So I can't just pile up a bunch of people where I live. So I do talk to people that are scattered all over the United States. Paint the picture of the ride-along kind of on the phone. When I first came on board and I was referring people to Keith, Keith would paint this picture to people when he was talking to them on the phone or in person. He's like, oh yeah, sometimes, remember this one person that was sitting there and, these fleas were jumping all over them and they couldn't wait to get out of the house. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe you just told my prospect that. And because in my mind, like I knew better, right? I was like, why would you tell somebody that? And he's like, well, I'd rather them know right now what this is going to really be like than to waste time. Well, fast forward a couple of years, he's dead on. Paint the picture right off the bat. Let them know exactly what their day's going to be like. Let them know what they're going to get into. If they can't, I mean, I used to have a problem with the whole do-rags and rebel flags thing. It's like, why would Craig say it's do-rags and rebel flags in front of everybody? Well, because that's the people that we talk to. So let people know, because if they're having a status problem and they're having an issue and they're not used to that sort of thing, or they are used to sitting at a desk and wearing a suit and having people come to them, and you're not sure they're going to be able to go out and actually meet people in their houses, sit on their couches, pet their dogs, let their kids sit on their laps, whatever it is, eat their food, and you don't even know what it is. I mean, if they can't do, I'm serious. If they can't do that sort of thing, then this might not be for them.
All right, buddy. Gary, anything else for concluding here? Anything else you want to add on Warm Market?
Yes, one more thing. Does everybody know what LinkedIn is? Everybody? Good. Get an account. Get an account for LinkedIn. It is crucial to your success as far as building. You'll see on there people changing jobs every single day. I mean, it just scrolls through there. People are doing it. People are actively looking at your profile as well. I couldn't tell you how many times, and it actually tells you that there's 10 people looking at your profile today. And it's not because they're trying to spy on you per se. They're looking because they're seeing how you're doing, how successful you are, why you're doing it. My 2-year anniversary with NASB was last week, so I'm happy with that. But I had 75 likes on that. It tells everybody on there. I had 75 likes, and out of that, there was 10 people that called me and asked me, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Hey, how'd you do this? You're doing this, you're doing that. How do you like your company? How do you like your job?" So it's a huge tool that you guys can use, every single one of you can use, to not only keep up with people that you've lost contact with through Facebook or anything like that, but it's also on the career side of it to where you can see what they're doing. You might even find people on there that you didn't even know was in insurance that are your friends because they didn't like to talk about it because they weren't doing well at it. And you can recruit them over. It's an easy tool to use that can really change your life.
All right, Dave, last word.
Yeah, I was going to say just one little tip that kind of helped me also as well is, how many people have a smartphone? Raise your hand if you've got a smartphone. All right, on your smartphone, you have a thing called notes. You could take a note and pre-make it and save it in your phone so it's on your notes, like something that says something to the effect of, "Hey, it was great talking to you. Here's some more information about the company. Here's a link to the website, blah, blah, blah," maybe a link to one of the 101 calls, that type of thing. You can pre-make that note, have it ready, so that when you're talking to somebody, let's say you run into a friend or you run into somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, instead of a lot of people give out their card. Like you might know somebody, but you don't know their contact information, so you hand your card out. Well, actually, the card open rate for a card is like less than 1%. I mean, what do you do when somebody hands you a business card? I mean, think about it. I don't, that's just extra paper I got to carry around. I might usually trash it or something, unless it's somebody I really need to get a hold of for some reason. But if you use that note that I'm talking about in your phone, you can pre-make it. You run into somebody and you say, "Hey, I'll shoot you a digital business card. Let me get your email address real quick." They'll give you your email address, open the note up, hit the send button, and send it right to them. And it automatically saves, so you have it there on the ready for every single time, but it's a digital business card. Now, they've got their information for you in their email, which is a much higher open rate. They're more likely to look at your information. It's not something they got to carry around and lose, and you have their email address as well.
So, guys, the last question here is, what would you do if you knew you were sitting on a gold mine? If you knew your house was built on a gold mine, what would you do? Would you get a shovel? Start digging? Would you get a machine? Here's the thing. Y'all are, and it's called your warm market. You're sitting on it. Everybody in here has a Keith Thomason in your warm market. Everybody in here has a Garrett Hollyfield. Everybody in here knows a Dave Stewart somewhere. It may be a relationship you had 10 years ago. I lost touch with Stephen Dean for almost 10 years. And one day I was just racking my brain. Who can I talk to? Who can I contact? Stephen Dean all of a sudden pops in. He's one of the top agents in the country. He'll build one of the largest teams within NASB. So you're sitting on a gold mine. It's your warm market. Let's go. Y'all can do it. And next session, let's bring up Keith Thomason for cold market recruiting, along with Jason Van Hanswick and Greg Baden.
Hey, hey. He says there's a Keith Thomason in everyone's life or relationships, and I'm telling you right now, I'm looking for him. These guys probably have two of the fastest growing groups within the Smith organization. And why I'm so proud for these guys is because they're doing it the same way I did it. It wasn't the warm market. I live in a small town, pastor a small little church, and I'll be quite honest, I try not to blur the line so I don't recruit anyone in my church. And And my background has been in ministry, so obviously I don't cross that line either. So most of my building has been with cold market. And these guys, the very same thing. Jason Van Hanswick is a master of social media. Greg, the Tower of Baden, is just making it happen. But look, guys, both of us, all of us, have had previous business experiences when people have attempted to recruit us or hire us or train us, and the way they did it just didn't sit right with us. Let's speak to that for a moment. In your past experience, Greg, someone that may have attempted to hire you or train you, but the way they went about doing it maybe just didn't feel right, wasn't comfortable. Talk to me about that.
Well, Keith, it's funny because my mindset for recruiting kind of started like kind of a seminar like today. A couple years ago, I was at a previous company, and their top recruiter stood up on stage and was going to tell us all how to recruit people. And his basic message was, fake it until you make it. He actually told us to borrow a friend or family member's car, take out a credit card and put some suit and nice shoes on there, and that just didn't sit.
Kind of like Jordan's suit. Does Jordan look good or what? Did y'all notice that suit? Thing's tight. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. He does look good.
You're handsome,
that just
brother.
didn't sit well with me. So I was going to do the exact opposite. And I was going to be myself and be honest and as true to the system as possible. And I was just hoping to attract good people like I seem to have brought on.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't comfortable. It felt phony.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing, you cannot sell it. Me, I have to believe in it. Van Hanswick, talk to me about that. Perhaps experiences you've had. Go ahead.
No, yeah, actually where I met Jordan 10 years ago, going on 11, was at a multi-level marketing opportunity where it really introduced me to the world. But what was so different about this and building here, and really I made a pact that if I was going to start recruiting, that I didn't want it to be anything like that. I feel like you need to have the success first to at least, even $5,000 a month, even $5,000 a month to show somebody that you have the results. We know most people aren't making that, but if we weren't able to show the results, if you didn't have something that someone could potentially want, well, then you just sound like every other opportunity where it's, well, I'm not making money, but I know somebody who is. And then you start to sound like everything else. They question you. And you have to be more so defending the opportunity when you're trying to pitch it, and it just doesn't ring true to what we have today.
And when Jordan told me how we first met you, it was kind of creepy, I'll be quite honest. I'm glad he told me this after I'd known him for about a year. I'm not sure I'd be here today. He would say that on weekends, he would go to the mall and he would walk around and check out sharp guys. I'm just saying, look, I'm not the only one who thought it was creepy. Cora thought it was creepy as well, right, Cora? It's creepy. But you know what? Many people have come from that background. You know, you're trying to find people that may be looking for a change or transition in their life. And the way you do that recruiting process oftentimes isn't comfortable. Here, the great thing about it is this. It's for real, it's legit, and you're recruiting them to a real job. This is a real career. It's not that you have to hire 1,000 people that's going to do a little bit of product in order to hopefully get a little residual. Here, the guy can go out day one with his own pen and make a living. And not just an ordinary living, a great, exceptional living. And I don't know about you, but the guys I'm talking to are looking for not just a job, but they want a career. Let's talk about investing in ads. The biggest hurdle I discover for new managers that have proven to themselves that they can write at an acceptable level and they can train others is making the investment in ads. You know, when we first come on board, it's difficult for us to get our minds around investing in leads. Tell the truth. Let the Lord love you. You know what I mean? We're resistant to buy leads. I don't need those leads. I'm not going to pay for those leads. And soon you discover without the leads, you're going to stumble and fall. Well, the managers, you have to go through the same process. You've got to convince yourself, get your mind around the fact that you have to invest in your business. That's the key thing you've got to get in your heart. This is a business. Lori Pitzer, I remember, worked at another company with me, And she was poor. I mean, piss poor. I mean, she could barely scratch out 1,000. Listen, the truth is this. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Tell the truth. They wanted to fire her more than once. The only reason they didn't fire her is because I knew her. I had to protect her on a regular basis. So she came on board here. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't extremely excited about her coming on board, but she came on board. I mean, in fact, she's doing 800 to 1,000, and you know what that spells, right? Chargebacks. Chargebacks. Just enough to get enough money to put gas in your car, not enough to make a living, and then you're desperate, so you're writing trash business. Well, she read a book in July after she came on board in February. And I can remember the phone call. It went like this. Keith, I just read this book, man. You've got to get everybody to read this book. I said, what's the best part of the book? She says, I read this book, and I realized that this is a real business. Her production tripled. She went from barely scratching out 1,000 to 1,500 to writing 10,000 almost overnight because she believed. Managers, how do you start that process? Talk to me about investing in ads.
Well, I'm going to throw a little disclaimer out there. If you don't have money to buy leads, don't put money in ads. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But what I do as far as investing in ads, it took me about 6 months before I really started putting some serious money into it. And really what I tried to do was focus on my personal production. Then I had a little bit of disposable income. And then I just played around with different sites. There are a lot of different sites out there, and some sites, Garrett just mentioned LinkedIn, some sites are going to fit better for you and your...
Hold that thought one moment. So what I hear you saying is this. You can actually recruit and train yourself into poverty.
Correct.
So if you're not making enough money to buy ads, chances are you're not at the level to duplicate yourself.
Correct. It's more, investing in ads is a little more long-term process than buying leads. Because if you buy leads, you get them on Monday, you can turn around and make $1,000 to $2,000.
The reason I wanted to touch on that for a moment, Greg, if you don't mind, is because so many people come from various other venues, multi-level marketing, other experiences, and at first they don't get it. This isn't just about putting people in this business. Craig says it over and over again, and Jordan parrots it, that you sign a blank check for everyone you bring on board. A blank check. So if they go out and write bad business, it's coming home, and it's going to roll right to you. So it's important that you are writing at an acceptable level. I would say that's between $4,000 and $7,000 a week. If you can't do that on a consistent basis, or if you're not writing between 5 and 10 apps a week yourself, you really don't know enough to train someone else. Push them upline so we can train them properly and gives you a chance to get to that level. However, it's so important that you put forth the effort to hone your skills, to develop yourself, so you are truly a manager, that you can teach others to do the same. Because if you're writing 3 apps and you're posting $5,000, that is a big flag, guys. We all know it. Man, it's neon. It's going to come home to roost month 3, 4, and 5. So it's important for us to put the necessary work in to make the money, to develop the story like Dave Stewart talked about, and what Van Hanswick just mentioned, Jason just mentioned, about earn your own credibility. Talk to me a little bit about where you're posting ads.
I'm posting ads in cities and locations where myself or one of the leaders in our group can get to. And the reason why I do that is because I made the mistake actually when I first started posting ads. Is I had one out in Oregon, a guy responded to it. He actually got contracted with us. I couldn't get out there to train him. I gave him a couple $100 worth of leads, and God never made a sale. So I learned by mistake. Make sure that you or one of your leaders in your group can actually physically get in the car with them and help train them.
You know, Craig says all the time, build a bonfire where you are rather than campfires. We had a guy here not long ago, maybe a year or so ago. He didn't last very long, and I think it's because of the way he approached this thing. He just blitzed the entire U.S. And when I say the entire U.S., I'm not sure he didn't have ads in Puerto Rico, but they were everywhere. He was recruiting them everywhere. And they would call, and he would just send them contracts, put them in the business, and they would fumble and fizzle and fade away. And man, it just rubbed me wrong. The reason being was he was devaluing our stock. How many knows that this business is stock? It's a value. And if you devalue it, how do you devalue it? You bring somebody on and you don't stand behind them. Listen, anybody can hire someone. It takes a real individual that has managerial skills to develop that talent. You've got to cultivate it. You've got to invest in them. You can't just see them as dollar signs. You've got to realize behind that face is a family. And you've got to take responsibility for them. So if you're not going to take responsibility for every single person that you hire, don't hire them. You're doing a disservice. Hear me when I say that. It's so important. See, that's one of the major differences between us and the also-rans. See, I realize when I bring on a Joe or a Tony or a Randy or a Lisa or a Vicky, you know, I'm investing in their life. I'm attempting not simply to make myself money. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely altruistic. You know, I'm in it for the money, you know. However, I understand to make money, I've got to help them make money. I like to say on a regular basis, we get it. As Jordan just said, it's not about me, it's about you. And so I need to do whatever it takes, burn the gas, buy the leads, invest in applications, help you with sales until you get it. You see what I mean? Otherwise, we are devaluing our stock. We become like everyone else. A bad experience, a horrible dream, wasted time and money, and they fail. And if you don't think they talk about it, listen, trust me. When I hear other people that come from various other agencies that have been licensed and simply hadn't produced, they tell me the stories. It was a nightmare. You wouldn't believe what I had to do. And what it boils down to usually is not the system. Because truly, the only difference between this opportunity and most opportunities, with some exceptions, is you. So when you recruit someone, pay the price. Build a bonfire. If you're going to build campfires, be prepared to get in your freaking car and drive to them and invest in that man or woman's life because they're depending on it. They're believing, they're hoping, they're dreaming. And don't devalue or debunk or burst a person's dream. That's on you. All right. Now talk to me a little bit, Jason. What should the ad say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really just like the lead that the clients fill out. They get tons of them. And so it's up to Chad and Craig to make sure that their lead stands out over all the other ones out there. And the same goes with ads. The first thing I would recommend to do is to scope out the competition. Go to the different Craigslist and Indeed and ZipRecruiter and look through the different life insurance ads and take notes of the things that you like, mention some of the things you don't like, and then you have to find out who you're targeting. Are you targeting a non-licensed sales professional, or are you going to target someone who has experience and who is licensed? So first, if we're going on the non-licensed sales professionals, there's really 4 points that I like to include in the ads that I'm targeting them. The first one's going to be the industry and the opportunity. We've heard Craig say 1,000,000 times, 10,500 people a day are turning into our demographic, into that baby boomer market, and for the next 20 years. You could take that even a little further and, touch on all the different products that, or maybe some examples of what these seniors purchase and why it's inferior to the final expense product. The second thing you want to touch on is an unlimited income potential, where they're able to have more flexibility with their schedule, but they can earn as much money as they want to make without being capped. Number 3, residual income. I remember Jordan telling me that's the reason he started looking at insurance, because he was able to make a sale and get paid on it over and over again. He didn't start over every year from scratch. And then the fourth step is that it's not a cold calling position. And so obviously we work with people who are filling back direct mailers. And so those 4 steps right there will typically get you through and attract that non-licensed sales professional to you. If we're dealing with licensed individuals, A few quick tips. Number one, I would recommend having one say North American Senior Benefits and NASB, and then one that does not. And the reason why you want to have one that doesn't is because someone clicked on an ad that said NASB and spoke to somebody who may have placed an ad prematurely and had no business having that conversation, may have left a bad taste in that person's mouth, and then it could spoil the opportunity. So you put one that doesn't say the name of it, and then of course I would recommend having a short ad, real succinct and quick, and then maybe having a long one that goes into a lot more detail. And so the steps that I like to incorporate in the ads that I'm running, the first off being that we're backed by a 60-plus-year-old parent company and the successes of, obviously, the Milner Group. You don't have to put their name, obviously. The second point is going to be that we have a duplicatable process and a system that people have followed, and it's churning out more six-figure producers than really any other sales opportunity in the country. The third step is that we have direct life insurance leads. They're direct. They say life insurance. No flashlight leads. No Walmart gift cards. I've seen diabetic shoe supply leads, and all of a sudden you're bait and switching them on life insurance. I mean, it's really out there. And so these are direct, they're fresh, and the lowest cost in the nation. And then really the last step that you'd want to incorporate there is our support system. Starting from the conference call to the hands-on training that they're going to get from working with you, the impact that you're going to make, and then of course the ongoing support where if they're sitting in a home, obviously they can reach out to, most of the time, multiple people where we're going to have their back on either a quick group text or we can engage the clients and help solidify and close that sale. And so really, if you follow those points and put them in the ad, you're going to get people responding.
Man, I hope you wrote those down. See, we don't necessarily tell you, yeah, absolutely, that's good stuff right there. We don't necessarily need to tell you what to say, but we need to tell you what you need to include in what you're saying. Because at the end of the day, it's about your conviction. He just gave you the fundamental points that you need to touch on. That completes the loop, if you would, of the sales cycle. Make no mistake, recruiting is a sales process just as surely as selling a policy in a house. So he's given you the points you need to include in your ad. I want to back up a little bit, get a little bit more granular. The first points you talked about what you put in the ad, you gave 3 or 4. Just hit those bullets real quick. I want you to write these down.
Okay, so for a non-licensed, first step, the industry and the opportunity. Number 2.
Now let's talk for a moment. Industry and opportunity. What do you mean by that?
Well, of course, the baby boomer market.
10,000 a day, turning 65 years of age from now to 2035.
That's right. And then, of course, the different products that are out there. Sometimes I'll make comical ads about the little stair. You ever see that little seat that rides up the steps? Bathtubs. I mean, seriously, guys, people are going into the senior market and they're thinking Medicare and Medicaid. And sometimes you list some of these things, but you talk about there's so many different ways you can word this to catch someone's attention. But ultimately, the commission that's paid on a final expense product is substantially larger than any other of the commissions paid.
And it's consistent.
It's consistent.
Yeah. Hope you got those down. What else?
Number 1.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, non-licensed is, of course, unlimited opportunity, unlimited income potential. 3, unlimited income potential, number 2. Number 3, residual income as we get renewals.
That's huge. Don't make the false assumption that every agent that works for a company or a carrier has renewals or residuals. They don't. There's a large IMO, one of the largest in the country, that is not too many miles away from here, that pays 0 renewals. So don't downplay that. Our company has integrity. You get your renewals, and it's day one investment. You don't have to kiss up for 3 to 5 years to prove your loyalty and before you're vested. You're vested day one. Stay or go, your book of business. You're building your own agency. In fact, let me invite you, let's stop saying build groups. Let's build agencies, because that's what it is. It's an agency just as surely as if you place a shingle on an office on a main thoroughfare or a side street somewhere and put your name on it. It's an office. It's just that we office the way people office in the 21st progressive century. In our homes, in our cars, because people don't come to a brick and mortar building to buy life insurance. They're increasingly not going there to buy property and casualty. Anyone see the general ads on television? You know, Geico, they're putting these companies out of business. We're just ahead of the curve. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. I got like 8 more points, man. No. Number 3, residual income, and number 4, no cold calling. Not a cold calling position. That's for a non-licensed. All right. So and then of course for a licensed agent, number 1, our parent company, the success of the 60-plus-year-old brokerage that we have. Number 2.
Oldest agency in Atlanta, been around since 1866, a $300 million annuity company plus other holdings. Capitalized on that relationship. Most other companies, even Globe. Can anybody tell me how long Globe's been around? Globe?
60 years.
They're not even as old as I am, and I hate to admit it. This is the only, and I underline only, opportunity that is the oldest in the country. We're tethered to one of the oldest brokerage companies in the United States. 1866. Are you kidding me? Forget about it. They've been there, stood the test of time. What I tell people is this: I don't know about you, but if I'm going to trust my future with a company, I at least want to know that they're older than I am. You know what I mean? I can remember 2008 and so many businesses failing. Well, I want to tether myself to a company that's been through a couple of Great Depressions, a few wars, downturns in the market, and they're still here talking and growing. How about you? 4.
So, okay, wait. So number 1, Milner.
Yep.
Back. Okay, number 2, duplicatable system, duplicatable steps. 3rd point, direct life insurance lead. You made a great one, which I forgot and left out. Day 1 vesting. For a licensed agent, day 1 vesting, renewals from the first start. And then, of course, our support system and our training.
Good stuff. Excellent. Hope you wrote that down. Now, I want to press them. This is the surprise question. I didn't tell them I was going to ask this. See, I like to get them right to the precipice and almost push them over. Where are you advertising? This is what George said, don't press them, but I want you to know. Where are you? Give me some names. Come on. Show me some love. Show me some love, Jason.
The websites?
Yeah.
So Craigslist, Indeed, and ZipRecruiter are, I would say, the 3 main sites that most people are going to use. However, there are plenty of different websites out there that people search on, and I wish you can do a Google search that said, what website do insurance agents look on for employment? But those are the 3.
Yeah, but some people wouldn't want to do that. I don't know why they wouldn't want to do it, but some people don't want to make a lot of money, so they probably won't do that. You know what I mean? Remember Hee Haw? But listen close the first time. Talk to me. There's the 3 different types of people that you're interviewing. Do you say the same thing to all of them?
No, you're going to speak to 3 different people. The first group is non-licensed. I have no idea what insurance is about.
That's not what your last girlfriend told me. She said you tell everybody the same thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The second group has a little bit of experience, maybe had a bad experience with their first IMO. Then the 3rd group is a group of veterans. The first group, I try, and I send out a message just like Dave said earlier, that directs them to the website, gets them on the call.
Teaser.
Yep, and I kind of test them. I say, and also the state license class, and I say, call me as soon as you get registered for this, and that's kind of their test. You're going to get the most responses from that group, so you need to throw a little tester out there just because of the vast numbers of them. And if they call you back, that's when you take the appropriate steps. The next 2, I just go for the gusto. I try to get them right in my car because sitting at a Starbucks, people are trained interviewers now, and they can fool you. If you spend 6 hours in a car with somebody, you're going to know what that person's all about by the end of the day. So that's how I handle the.
2 questions. 1, where are you recruiting? Give me some names.
I've been kicked off Indeed, so I invest in Craigslist and ZipRecruiter. Those are my two places.
He's a blatant violator. Okay, so ZipRecruiter and what else? Craigslist?
Yeah.
Craigslist, yeah. Use the free stuff. Jason, talk to me.
I know we're running a little short on time, but one step that we just kind of skipped is once they have responded to the ad, what do you say to them when they call you or when you call them? And, get with your RVP on this, because I know I've got a full word for word one recorded, but like Jordan was saying, you want to find people's pain points. So I'll typically get on the phone with someone and I'll say, well, tell me, are you currently a licensed agent? And they'll say yes or no. And if it's, let's just say they say yes, I'm going to say, okay, well, what is it currently about your current opportunity that they don't have? Why are you looking? And you listen to them and you use those pain points. But for the most part, I pretty much stick with the same layout of where I'm going to go, and it's similar to what's in the ad. And once we've talked and warmed up a little bit, I'm going to transition by saying, well, okay, John, let me tell you a little bit quickly about who we are, what we've done, and kind of my experiences with the company. Our parent company is the Milner Group, Milner. They've been in business since their lineage with life insurance goes back to 1866. Huge in the big, fully underwritten products, the big terms, the big ULs, $300 million a year annuity company. But some 4 years ago, Chad Milner realized he needed to tap into this baby boomer market. And so he went on a search for the best life insurance salesman and leader in the entire country. And after a long search, he came across a guy named Craig Harvey, who had just sold at the highest level, who had built at the highest level. Long story short, some 4 years later, we're doing roughly $1 million weekly in premium as an organization. We're coming in #1 with Americo, ranking with the top of the premier final expense companies that are out there, all based on the system that we've had after the advisory of the Milner Group and all the talent we have. It has just done nothing but been a success and worked out. And what I'm going to go through now is I'm really touching on 3 points. Well, not more than 3. First thing is the lead house. And I make a big deal out of this. And I started off now, after having experience, talking about how it used to be with a third-party vendor. And I go through that. And we're limited on time, so I'm not going to go through that whole thing. But the power of having creative control over that lead and not being at the mercy of some third-party vendor where we can't control what it says. And because we have that power and that control of owning that lead house, of course, leads there. Second thing, I'm going to talk about the system that we have and kind of our culture here. We don't have really an office environment. The conference calls in the morning, the continued support, the personal hands-on training that they're going to get, and honestly, just the other points that I mentioned on the advertisement, you're really going through those. Then I'm going to tell my experience that I've had and what I've been able to accomplish, and then I'm going to tell Jordan's story. I'm going to talk about Jordan because he's done it better than truly anybody else. And trust me, I've looked for somebody who has done it faster, and they haven't. So I'm going to tell about what he's been able to accomplish and how it's impacted my career along with the other individuals that I've brought on simply because of the success Craig Harvey's had, which has been passed over to Jordan, which was passed over to me. And going through that process quickly, at that end of that, I want to try and book a ride along right there. You got to get in the car. I can tell you, but you know what? You need to see it. And if you're looking at any other company, stole this from Jordan, we definitely encourage it. Matter of fact, ask them to ride with their very best and get in the car with me. And whoever you trust your future with more, that's who you need to make the decision with. Then I'm going to ask them to shoot me their email. And if they shoot you your email on a text, they're serious. And at that point, that's when I forward them over an email. Like Dave was saying, I have it stored in a new agent folder on my Gmail account. And it's just right there, and I forward it. It's very important, though, that you clean these up. Delete the forward spaces and clean it up and put their name on it to make the forwarded email not look like a forwarded email, but like a fresh email. From that point, you want to get them on the conference call the next morning. Text them the day after in the morning. Great talking with you. Here's our number. Have that saved in notes and pass it along. And then we get to that follow-up stage.
Man, did you hear? Did you read between the lines? Intentionality. He didn't just randomly think about this. He put a lot of thought into it. He has a process, and the process is key to success. Greg, when I started recruiting, one of the things I tried to do was address my needs. I was thinking that guys that are in my demographic, in my age group, my cohort, had similar desires and hopes and dreams. And I figured if I could answer or describe why I'm here, it might speak to them. Why are you here?
Well, three reasons got me to NASB. One, Craig basically, when I was coming aboard, said, here's the path to prosperity, no matter what age you are, no matter what sex, what race, no matter what, you do this, you're gonna hit your numbers, you're gonna advance, and the sky's the limit. Two was Jordan Smith. I was with Jordan at the previous company. That's where we met, and I'd never seen an agent put up numbers like him. And basically, I knew he wasn't going to go to some place that couldn't run with him. And third was control of the money and be invested day one. That was I didn't have that luxury at the previous company, as you know, and having access to the carriers and having complete control of my money was very important to me. So those were the three main.
I hope you wrote those down. Those are the three things that was genuine and real desires, hopes, and dreams. Not just pain, but it was a hope and dream you had to build an agency, to own it, and hit your goals. And so I bet every time you talk to someone, you touch on those three at some point, don't you?
Yeah, I give them my story.
Yeah, the story is what sells. That's the sizzle. At the end of the day, when you're hiring and building your own agency, you are the difference. You. Be true to yourself. Be true to thine own self, and it will work, my friend. Hey, I've got Dusty Todd up here. Dusty is going to talk to us about getting people started, a training day, mentorship, and the reason he's been invited because he's one of the best at it. If I were to ask him how many people he's had in his car, how many people he's talked to, listen, he could go on for an hour and a half. But let me just begin with this, Dusty. When you're training someone, what is the most important thing you're trying to accomplish? See, there's many things you can accomplish, but what is the most important thing you're trying to accomplish?
Well, when you get somebody in your car, obviously, field training is very important as a builder. They're not going to do what you say; they're going to do what they see you do. And
Wait, say that again. That's good stuff right there.
They're not going to do what you say; they're going to do what they see you do. So there's three things I want to touch on when I get somebody in the car. I want them to see the processes of the system. I want to see the daily routine that we go through every day, and then the power and the importance of the presentation. Those are the three things.
Let's get a little bit granular. In terms of the system, the process, talk to me about the 3 or 4 things that you find fundamentally important to get a person started and productive.
Well, obviously, I want to make sure I emphasize the importance of the conference call. It's very important. I want them to know the in and up.
You mean the morning phone call?
Yeah.
The team calls on Monday, the national call with Craig Harvey. Listen, if you have a pulse and you get on a 9 o'clock phone call on Monday and you're not inspired, you don't want them. They're dead. Craig will bring life. I mean, he's the paddles, my man. He will bring them to life. So the daily, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, no one does any better than Jordan. Listen, I preach a sermon every single Sunday, 52 weeks a year pretty much, maybe 50, 51 weeks a year. Jordan preaches a 10-minute sermon every single day of the week. And he's the best in the biz. I mean, he gives you good, granular, practical, applicable information on the daily basis. I call it the drip because there's 2 ways of learning. You can sit in a classroom and be lectured to your silly. It's like a sponge. You can only hold so much, and then it oozes out. But what Randy taught me years ago is you're only going to retain about half of what you heard the next day. So what we've decided to do, rather than put you in a classroom and lecture you on a regular basis, stick you on a phone call. Let's talk to you about 10 to 12 minutes, and then give you a chance to have some investment into the game. But this is a team. It's a team sport. Team sport. That's why just listen to the phone call is not important. If you're in this room and you're not speaking out and giving your numbers, you're not on the team really. Really, you're wearing a jersey, but you're on the sidelines. And your team members need to hear you reporting numbers until you get to the point that your overrides and your team is so large that most of what you're doing is writing for them or training someone. You need to be reporting numbers. We have so many managers, I'm just going to tell it. I'm going to tell it. As my oldest daughter, Ashton, said to her grandfather, shh, shh, shh. I'm going to say it, Granddad. Shh, shh, I'm going to say it. I got to let them hold it. We have so many managers that aren't producing. Dude, if you're a manager, you're not doing between 4,000 and 7,000, give me a break. What are you doing? What are you doing? You need to be making money yourself to build a story that you can invest in your own business. If you just go crazy with this thing for 12 months, it will change not only your life, but your family's destiny. Jordan just told you he went from 0 to hero in 12 months. Now, I'm not half that good, but it's taken me about 2.5 years. But listen, it's available to you if you just put blinders on, raise your belief system, and make it. And it begins with the drip. The 30-minute phone call every single day. Get your uniform on, step onto the field, report your numbers. You got a 0, no big deal. If you never have a 0, you're just a liar. Everybody's got a 0, you know. And it encourages others when they hear you report a 0 because they have a 0 too. You know what I mean? We're a team here. We're like locusts. When we land in a city, we consume everything in its sight, and that begins with that drip morning phone call. What's the second thing, Dusty?
Leads. Leads are the lifeblood of the industry. I mean, you have to have people to see, to have people to buy. You know, if you're not going to invest in leads, then it's probably not going to work out for you. So I emphasize the importance of purchasing leads or being on some type of standing lead order. The third thing.
Talk to me about the leads for a moment.
All right.
Our leads are from 50 cents to $29 and everything in between. Are you kidding me? 50 cents? 50 cents leads? All the way to $29 and everything in between. Now, 2 things that managers need to do. Write this down. Write this down. Invest in the system. What do I mean by that? Don't be the freaking sap that's always buying the old leads and you never buy any new ones. You're a manager. Lead, for crying out loud. If you don't replenish the system, the guys you bring on who are broke and in debt won't have any inexpensive leads to purchase. Think about it. The system works because we work it. If you're a manager, you need to be purchasing a minimum of 10 to 15 platinums in any form, shape, or color. I don't care which ones they are, every single week. Well, I don't need those. I know you don't need those, but your downline will need them. If we don't purchase platinums that goes to inventory, they'll never become gold, silver, and bronze. Now, I don't know about you, but when I came in this business, I was broke and in debt. How about you? I was so broken in debt, I would have shoveled chicken manure. My wife would have held the bag. We would have done anything, but I couldn't afford the leads. So this company, this opportunity is such that they're affordable leads. But the system only works when leaders lead. Invest in new. Get some new ones every week and then supplement with the old ones because you are building and expanding the interstate, the Autobahn, if you will, that our guys that are following us are running on. When Jordan came on board, there were no new leads. He had to order them and wait. When I came on, there were no old leads. There were only brand new stuff. So over the course of years, we've been able to build this inventory that allows people that are on a shoestring, that are coming from broken situations, crushed dreams, lost jobs, split families, lost opportunities, second chance type guys. Man, if you're a second chancer, raise your hand. Give me some love right here. Second chancers. Man, I'm with you, baby. That's us. That's us. You know the song, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good as once as ever was. That's us. But we got to invest in the system with the leads. Leads, talk to me a little bit more about it. What kind of leads do you run, Dusty?
Well, when I'm training, I work all types of leads, platinums, and all the way down to the oldest.
You mean you're not a lead snob?
I want the agent or the new trainee to see, how to work all lead types, to knock on neighbors' doors because everybody, isn't a Craig Harvey, a Keith Thomason can go out there and purchase, $100, $200 in leads and turn it into $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 in AP. So you have to knock on neighbors' doors. I think that's another important aspect of training is showing them how to talk to as many people as possible.
So show your new recruit how to run different leads types. New ones, old ones, data, and the foreknock. One thing that Jordan said, which I thought was spot on, he says buying a lead is buying a commission. See, if you believe in yourself, what does Jordan always say? Believe in yourself, baby. Let's go. Buy the lead. It's an investment in a future commission. You know what I mean? You're the best of the best. Best of the best. Buy the lead, get the commission, replenish the supply. Show your recruits, show your new hires every type lead, so they will believe in it as well. When Cole first started, it was always a lead problem. You know, this lead sucks. This particular lead sucks. And then after he mastered the lead, it was the town that sucked. You know, that town sucked. Nobody can write in that town. After about 6 months, all of a sudden, it's amazing. The stinking leads have gotten really good, Craig. And you know what? All towns, people buy insurance. It's amazing how that happened. I mean, we just got better. You see what I mean? That's the key. What's number 3?
The in and up. I emphasize the importance of, in the first at least 30 to 90 days, calling from every house that you're in. You know, I've been with the company for over 2 years now, and I still do the in and up every day. Call my manager, call Keith Jordan every day because it works. So get in the house, you know, I emphasize the importance of calling your manager. There might be, even if they say no, there might be some type of hot spot that we can touch on to help close that sale out for you.
So when you're out training, you emulate, you mirror, you show them how to do an in and up. People are going to do what they see you do, not what you tell them. So if they hear you do the in and up, you don't need to do an in and up. You know how to do it. People are calling you for the in and ups, but they need to see you do an in and up. Now listen, let me tell you something. That in and up is the difference between success and failure. What you're allowing your new guy to do is to be tethered to you for 30 to 45 days. They know absolutely nothing. In fact, I tell them, your primary responsibility and job is not in the selling application. Your job is to get in the house and do the presentation that I give you. Just do the presentation. Once you do the presentation, call an account specialist. I will help you sell between 50 and 75% of the time. Listen, you know why people fail in insurance? They don't make money. They don't make money because they don't have enough knowledge, enough skills to make and close the sale. But if they call you, you close between 50 and 70% of the time. You're the third party validation. So if you got a brand new guy that doesn't know anything about anything, which we were all in that boat at one point in time, and you could get on the doorstep and get yourself into the house and do the presentation that your mentor gave you, and then you call an account specialist and they close for you. Vicky, where are you? Are you in here, Vicky? Don't put me on the spot here, Vicky. There are you, Vicky. Vicky, brand new, get into a house. Just quickly, just give us your story of what happened when you did your presentation.
I knocked on a door. They couldn't meet that day, so I went back the second day, and I sat down with them and did my presentation that Randy had given me. I texted out to my team, and Keith responded, here. And I was like, okay, good. I've never talked to this man before in my life. I hope this goes well. And I called Keith, and he's like, well, hey, Vicki, how you doing today? And I said, hi, Keith, I'm doing great. How are you, sir? And he said, oh, I'm doing great. And I said, I'm sitting here with Claire and Lamar, and I went through all the information that Randy had taught me and Lisa had taught me to do. And then I just shut up, and then Keith talked, and I wrote 2 $30,000 policies and had over 4,000 AP and made about $3,700, and that was more money that I'd made in probably 7 months. So I'm forever grateful.
Yeah.
If a person makes money, they're not going anywhere. The first 30 to 45 days, your number one priority as a manager is to make sure your guys are making money. Man, I'm in a house and I'm so busy I can't take the phone call. Really? Really? You better put the pen down, tell the client, I need to help someone, pick the phone up, because them making money is more important than you making money. If you help them make money, you're going to make some money. Invest in them. Do the right thing. Man, I've been in a house, as God is my witness, man. I've been in the house over an hour doing back-to-back in and ups, closing deals and talking to the client simultaneously. And you know what happened? That built trust and confidence because they knew they were speaking to an account specialists that other people were calling for advice, and they had the man in the house, whether I was or not. You see what I mean? So, in and up. Listen, you heard Dave Stewart talk about making $12,000. Randy, Lanier, Phoenix, what did you make the first year, man? over 130. In and up every single day. I thought, my God, is he ever going to stop calling me? I mean, it was like boom, 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 wearing me out. But I knew he was making money. And if I knew he made money, hey, he'd be able to duplicate. And this whole front row is his group this morning, along with Joe Giuliano, baby, in the house. Number 4. I got to pick the pace up here. The last one.
Just showing them the 4 knocking on neighbors. I touched on that a little earlier.
You mean you're going to knock on people you don't even know?
Yeah.
You mean you don't have a lead for them? So,
absolutely. Like I said before, everybody, a lead's only going to take you so far. Everybody can't, turn 10 leads into, 10, 15, 20 sales. You have to see the people. We have a product that people need. And if you talk to enough people, eventually, somebody, you're going to get in the house and give a presentation. You're going to get a call for the in and up, and the system takes care of itself. So if you get your new trainee to understand the process of the system, it works.
listen, if you understand the numbers, you take the emotion out of the cell. And that's what you're trying to communicate slowly but surely over a period of time to your new guys. Take the emotion out of the cell. Otherwise, it's an emotional roller coaster. And another crippling effect of this business in sales is the emotional roller coaster. Man, and you go a day and you don't get anything. There's 2 days you don't get anything. Man, you begin to stress. You begin to pucker up. You know what I mean? You been there? Yeah. It's stressful. But if you understand the numbers, and these are the numbers, we didn't just arbitrarily invent them or write them down today. LEMRA, which is the statistical gathering arm of the insurance industry, independent, I might ask, says 52% of all Americans have no life insurance. That's the numbers. And of the 48 that do have, 27% say they don't have enough. Okay? And what my experience is, even the other part that thinks they have enough, usually at least half don't have what they think they have. So effectively, at the low end of the spectrum, that's 73% of all of Americans are either looking for coverage or don't have any coverage. That combined with 10,000 people turning 65 every single day, that's a tsunami. So the 4 knock is so critical. You've got two types of people. You got card filler outers, and you got those that don't fill out cards. The card filler outers would say, I would say about 20%. Craig could probably validate this for me. 20%. So we're only tapping the 20% of the market that fills out cards. The other 80% never fill out a card. I've never filled out one single card in my life in mail. If you have never filled out a card in your life in the mail, raise your hand. Look around. What I discover is this. You knock on the door, you got 30 seconds to let them know that you're genuine, you're sincere, and you're trustworthy. And if they're in that 52% or the 27%, they're going to say, sure, bring me some information, or come on in the house. Because they know they need life insurance. It's just a matter of when they're going to get it and who they're going to get it from. The 4 knock will help you double your writing AP weekly. I promise you. Greta and Lisa Ford, when they go out, usually write all their business on door knocks. Scott Schuett coined the phrase, block knock, baby. When you know there's gold behind them their doors, you'll knock. Okay, let's go to the next one, Dusty. You said you want them to understand the routine, the daily routine. What's so important about a routine?
Well, success is in the schedule. It's imperative to work a consistent schedule every week. You can't expect to work part-time and get full-time results. If you do, this probably isn't the industry for you. I mean, it takes a full commitment to working a schedule, and it's important to map your schedule out so you're not running around all over the place. You have a daily routine.
It's amazing to me. How about you? We talked about it earlier this morning. Before you came here, most of us had a job. You had to be there at 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock. You punch the clock. If you don't punch the clock, at least they know when you're entering the building. Most of us punch the clock. And we work all day with a 30-minute lunch. And then at the end of the day, you don't punch out not even 5 minutes, not even 1 minute, not even 30 seconds late. You punch out on time, or even you work over. You don't take any cell phone calls from family and friends during the day. You don't miss a lick. You're about the business. All of a sudden, you start working for yourself. Before you know it, your time is everywhere. You're at the grocery store. You're running errands. You're picking up kids. You're carting people around. You're wasting your day. And you think, man, why can't I get it? Because you don't see it as a career and a job. You've got to have a daily routine. One thing that Craig pounds week in and week out is routine, routine, routine. I can tell you right now, as soon as I hit the floor, what's happening. Routine. You do the same thing every single day. We're creatures of habit. And those that are most successful are those that have the most rigid routine possible because they're consistent. Listen, the spouse knows, don't call me and ask me to go by the grocery store and pick up milk at 1 o'clock. Ain't going to happen. The kid knows, don't call me to drop off the sandwich because he forgot his lunch. You get it tomorrow. I'm working. You know what I mean? No, I can't take off and just go fishing today. You know what I mean? We need to communicate this to the guys we're training. But first of all, we got to do it ourselves. We write 2 apps before 12 o'clock. Man, the weather's nice. I think I'll go lay out. No, man, you've got the big mow on your side. You got to plow through. What am I saying? It starts at the top. They're going to do half of what they see you do. So emulate that for them. The next question I want to ask you this, Dusty, is in terms of the ride-along, what objective are you trying to accomplish?
Well, first, I want to let them know up front that the goal, when a new agent gets in my car, I want to let them know that the first and foremost goal is not to make a sale that day. It's for them to see a door approach, to get into a house, to give a full presentation. And if we happen to make a sale, then that's just icing on the cake. And the reason that I do that is because, I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of new builders that are training new agents make is they put pressure on themselves to make the sale, and you can't do that because it's going to generate a snowball effect of bad habits that you're going to create in the house. You're going to press yourself. The presentation is not going to flow properly, and if you're pressing, your client's going to realize it. So it's so important just to let it happen natural and just let them know that if you show them these things, if you show them how to do a door approach, they're eventually going to get through a door. And then they're going to give a presentation. They give enough presentations, then eventually they're going to close a sale and make the income that they need to make.
So it takes the pressure off you,
Yeah.
and it lowers the expectation of your ride-along. Because you want to be loose. You know what I mean? You don't want to be uptight. Hey, look, guy, what we're going to do today is this. My number one objective is for you to see a door approach. I want you to understand what I say, how I say it, why I say it. So we're going to do quite a few of those. I want you also to see a foreknock. I want you to see me go to the neighbor, complete stranger, how I leverage that lead that legitimizes my presence in the neighborhood. You need to understand that. You leverage the lead that legitimizes your presence in the neighborhood. You're in the neighborhood not because you just arbitrarily parked your car, necessarily. Sometimes we do that. But you're there because the neighbor invited you to be there. You see what I mean? So I want you to, see a door knock. I want you to see a foreknock. And then I'm going to want you to see a presentation. If you get the process down, you're going to move the product. How many people have seen The Prophet? Marcus Lemonis, he says that every business is about the product, the process, and the people. Listen, before I even heard him say that, we were already doing it. He goes into different businesses every single week. Y'all watch that program? Love that program. I don't know what channel it comes on, but he goes into different businesses that are failing or struggling, and he helps get them to profitability. And I don't care what they're selling, what kind of people they are, what part of the country is, he focuses on these three things: the product, the process, and the people. So what Dusty has just described to me is he's trying to communicate to the people the process. Get the process right, and you will move the product. Number 3, Dusty, do you leave anything behind?
You talking about when I leave a new agent for the first day?
Yep.
Yeah, obviously you want to leave them with, you want to make sure that they have the presentation booklet down, in order, the way, I'm sure, everything's pretty similar. As like Craig says, we always leave from the same driveway. The way you finish on the back end is up to the manager, but you want to make sure they have the presentation booklet down. You want to leave them some applications, some rate sheets. I usually like to start with one, maybe two main carriers to start with so they don't get overwhelmed. Make sure you tell them to study the application. So when they're in a house, it's not just, brand new to them. They actually have an idea of what's going on with the app. I show them Dropbox. We use Dropbox. I show them how to set it up on their phone, how to do it through email. The email Tracy sends out every Monday morning with the Pulse letter, and I just emphasize following the practices every day.
Yep. One thing that we're assuming along this way is that they're in your car. You're training them. One of the major mistakes I see new managers make is this. They send the new recruit to the Dropbox to download their stuff. Please don't do that. Listen, you're brand new. You don't need another reason or excuse not to go to work the next day. You know how I can tell if I have something after they ride with me the first day? They get a day and a half in my car, max. You know, I'm not the dude that lets you nurse. You know, you're not at the tit for a week. You know, we're going to wean you right away. We're going to wean. You get a day and a half. This is not rocket science. This is not calculus. This is not quantum physics. This is the lead. This is the prezo. Let's go do it. You got to fail, and the magic number is 100. You can do 100 in the first week. You can do 100 over 6 months. It's up to you how quick you want to learn and make money. Let's just get out there and get on. If the next day they go in the field, I know I got something. But the next day, if they have to sit at home and download the presentation booklet, download the applications, familiarize themselves with the leads, you see what I mean? When you put them in your car, have their kit together. Have their packet together. Okay, this is your presentation. I want you to watch me as we go through the presentation. One thing that Greta is awesome at, and she constantly corrects me, is after she does a couple presentations, you have a chance to do a presentation. I'll watch you do it and critique you. Fumbling as you might, you stumble, but it breaks the ice while they're in front of me, not when they're away from me. So give them the presentation. You print it off. Put it in their hands. You give them the application. Print it off. You give them some old leads and turn them loose. You help load Dropbox to their dashboard because that is our lifeline. You make sure that they put our phone numbers in their phone from day one and let them know that they're going to be on the phone call reporting tomorrow. You see? That's key. Closing, finally, if there's one thing and the most important thing that you want to convey to a new person you're starting up, what is it, Dusty?
Don't get easily discouraged. I mean, there's no need to really reinvent the wheel. Obviously the system works. Just duplicate what we do every day and what I'm going to show you to do, because no amount of communication will ever, overwork duplication. So just duplicate what I show you to do. Don't get discouraged. Just go out there and practice your presentation, and you will be successful.
And for the clock watchers, we're still on time. It was from 10 to 11. You just cut a little bit short. We got 3 more minutes, bro, so sit tight. On the first day you ride with them, look at the schedule, 10 to 11. On the first day, do you pull the skirt up, pull the curtains back, and tell them all the ugly mess? Hey, look, you need to be careful. It's going to be charged back. It's going to come in month 3. Oh, don't worry about it. Do you go through all that junk?
Well, the first day when I got somebody new in my car, I want to sell them on me and the business. It's a partnership. We're in this together, so I kind of want to sell them on myself. When I get them back in the car the second day, that's when I start quizzing them. Asking them questions. Give me your presentation. Give me your door approach. You want to quiz them, because first day you're selling yourself. Second day you're kind of questioning them, making sure that they're serious about this opportunity in the business. Because if they're not serious, I don't want to put my time and my effort into training them and teaching them.
So it's a date. It's a date. The first day, I want them to believe in me. I want them to buy into me. They can have confidence and trust me. Day 2, I want to put them to the system. These are the things you need to do. There's 4 things you need to do. You need to do the phone call. You need to do a standing order of leads. You need to do the in and up. You need to do the 4 knock. And then, Stuart, you need to do the 5th thing, which is to follow through with your business. We have no one that's successful that doesn't do it. And everyone that does do them all is successful. It's incredibly hard to succeed if you don't do it. It's incredibly hard to fail if you do it. Closing thoughts in the last minute and a half. I'll leave this thought with you. The book says this: you can get the desires of your heart. I can promise you this: you will never get what you want. You'll never get what you want. Wants come and go. But when you desire it, you're going to get it. A desire is an unbridled passion. It's crazed ambition that knows no limits. You're blinded of the reality because you hunger and thirst for it. It drives you in the morning and keeps you up late at night. You are obsessed with it. That's what you get, what you have a passion for. A lot of us in this room have been playing games. We've been here a little bit long, maybe a year or so. A lot of you are brand new. Listen, compress that time cycle. Get passionate today and tomorrow. Get passionate about it. And just freaking stinking go do it. It's here for you. Love you, man.
I stand corrected. Let's take these over here. I said that everybody knows a Keith Thomason, that everybody's got a Keith Thomason in their phone. I don't think so. There's only one Keith Thomason, but give it up one more time for Keith and the panel. All right, guys, we've got 1 hour, so stay with me, 1 hour till lunch. Y'all don't want to take a break. Stay with us. We're about to hear from the Sales Manager of the Year and the gentleman that's trying to win Sales Manager of the Year this year. And then we're going to hear from Craig Harvey to take us to lunch. So let's recap real quick. Number one, we start with leading ourselves, right? To be a builder, you've got to become the type person that people would want to work with. Number two, we pursue growth actively every day. Through warm market, you're always thinking, who can I contact? Who can I reach out to? Also through cold market. Then the field training, the ride-along, which Dusty did a great job on. Keith did a great job. If you get one thing as a builder, if you take away one thing today, take away that you've got to become a solid, consistent field trainer. As we set this prop up over here, thank you guys. Guys, a lot of y'all are making 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks an hour right now. Think about it. If it takes you 10 hours in the field to make one good $500 commission, it means you're making 50 bucks an hour. If you want to be able to double that and increase that to get up to $100 an hour, here's how you do it. You become what they just talked about, a great field trainer, and you start to duplicate yourself. There's more that's caught than taught. You can't just tell Prospect Joe what to do. They need to see it. There's no shortcuts when you're field training. Now that brings us to our next subject, where we've got Scott Davis and Chris Cannon-Robert. Can I hear from the Cannon-Robert team, by the way? Let me hear from the Scott Davis team. Davis team, come on. I mean, what's going on? Scott Davis won Sales Manager of the Year, I guess 2 years ago. Last year, he won the Founders Award. Chris Cannon-Robert is chasing the Sales Manager of the Year award this year. These two guys are going to come and talk about what's next. After you find the prospects, after you field train them, do you just get them contracted and leave them alone? Or are there some more responsibilities? Or there's some more things that go into properly starting an agent, how to get them up and running fast and to have a fast start. So help me welcome to the stage Scott Davis and Chris Cannon-Robert.
Hey guys, he had Chris and I following Keith so that we would be concise and we wouldn't cut into Craig Harvey's time. So we'll be quick, okay? As Jordan mentioned, once we get the contracting for somebody and you've recruited them and you've turned the paperwork in and now they're licensed, your work is just getting started. Because if we can't get them to profitability, Craig says in 21 days you're going to lose them. I would say we need to do it even shorter if we can, okay? So Chris and I have put together a checklist for you, and we're going to make this available to you later. But this checklist will give you some guidance as to what you need to do to work with these guys to get them to that point, okay? So if you can bring up the PowerPoint for us, guys, I'd appreciate that.
You didn't tell me anything about this seesaw. I don't know anything about this.
Well, if I get on one end, you're going. All right, here we go. Checklist for new agents. The first thing, guys, when you get with an agent, we need to go over with them what they need to expect from licensing, okay? Because if they don't know what to expect from licensing, they may not do the next steps that get them appointed with the carriers. So first of all, we need to let them know that NASB licensing is going to call them, okay? They're going to give them a phone call, so expect a phone call from a 770 area code. You need to take that phone call or at least return it, because they need to confirm some things before they can actually start the process, okay? You need to go over what does Assurance Bay email look like, okay? Because every single carrier is going to send them Assurance Bay email that they have to confirm before they can actually get the writing number. So we need to go over for them what do they need to expect from licensing so that they can get that part done even when they're not with us. Chris, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you hire somebody directly to you, it's your responsibility to make sure that they get through these steps, and you have to be thorough with it. You know, I'm actually, like you said, we're coming up with a detailed step-by-step guide to, when I figured out I was talking about this, I started writing down this detailed step-by-step guide that really should help new agents get off a lot easier. So yeah, just be thorough. You know, make sure you're talking with your new agents every day. Make sure, hey, did you get that email? Did you do it? Did you get the contracting emails? Did you get a call from licensing? Did you do your LIMRA? I mean, just be thorough. You take that responsibility as a new hire. It's not your manager's responsibility. It's yours. So yeah, I mean, just take that on yourself. You know, just have a get it done attitude. And, yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next slide, please. All right. Chris, what would you recommend we do there with the presentation?
Presentation binder. You know, again, this is, if you hire somebody directly to you, it is your responsibility to make sure that they have a binder, pretty much. I don't know how many times I've gone to Staples, Walmart, bought binders, bought pages, printed out sleeves. You know, I've made millions of binders for everybody. If you hire somebody directly, just get it to them. If you have to email it to them, if they have to print it out, whatever it takes. Make sure they have a binder. You know?
And along those lines, guys, one of the things I would recommend too is the next time they get in your car, you want to see that presentation binder, okay? We need to be saying the same things or telling the joke the same way so everybody laughs. Well, you can't do that if you don't have your presentation binder right, okay? So we want to take Craig's presentation binder, and guys, I copied it to the T. I went and found the exact same binder that Craig used. You don't have to do that, but you do need to make it duplicatable. For example, with my team, you know, we've taken Craig's presentation and we've gone just one step further, and we go into the 5 types of life insurance, okay? Because we educate and we actually cast doubt by doing that. So if we're going to be saying the same message, they've got to have the same binder together. So you want to see that. So the next time they get in your car, you just want to take a look at the binder. You want to make sure that everything's there so that they're prepared to say the same thing. Let's go on to the next slide, presentation. Well, with presentation, guys, same thing. You know, they have access to the NASB training videos. We give them access to that. So they want to take a look at Craig's, and we recommend that they watch that twice a day for the first 2 weeks. They watch it before they leave the house, and they watch it before they go to sleep. Because again, we want to make sure that we're doing the same presentation over and over again, okay? And before they actually get in the field for the first time, I want them to present to me. The reason I want them to present to me is, you know, I just want to make sure they've got the right content, okay? What would you add to that, Chris?
Now, you're talking about Craig Harvey's final expense presentation video. Is the one you have people watch, or do you have more that you like for them to watch on that? Or
well, the objections one.
Objections,
well,
yeah. Yeah, I tell my new agents, watch that Craig Harvey final expense presentation video as many times as possible. You know, if you want to call your manager, give them your presentation over the phone. Can't hurt. You just want to make sure that you get to a place where you're comfortable in the house. You can just roll it off the top of your tongue, no problem. Yeah, that's it.
All right, what about field training?
Field training, I try to go above and beyond, kind of like Dusty was saying. Go above and beyond when you're field training. Your agents are probably going to do about 80% of what you do. Knock on neighbors. Make sure, when I take a new agent out in the field, maybe if I take Scott out in the field, I'll show Scott, when we get in the car, I'll show Scott, say, here's our leads. All of our leads have phone numbers, they've got addresses on them. There's 2 ways we can get a hold of these people. We can even door knock, or we can do call-aheads. So I'm going to show them both. I'm show them door knocking, I'm show them call-aheads. After that, I'm going to show them, hey, that's how we get in the house. Once we get in the house, I want you to have a roadmap. We're going to warm up first. We're going to transition into life insurance. We're going to present, we're going to close, and then we're going to warm down. I'm going to show you how to do each step. Warming up, I use 4. Transitioning, that's where you pull out your notebook, and presenting, and then close. I show the 3 options close. I just show step by step how to get through what you're going to do in the house.
Yep. And basically, guys, you've got to show them how to get in the house. And there's only 2 approaches. It's at the door or on the phone. And so what I recommend is show them both, okay? Because I've learned by doing this a little while, it pays to work smarter, not harder, okay? So I'll take a batch of leads in the beginning and I'll make same-day phone calls, okay? I want them to hear in my car both sides of that conversation. Sometimes somebody's saying, hey, I'm not interested. You know, how do we overcome that? But then likewise, I want to show them the door approach as well. Because if they can't get in the door or if they can't take the jump shot, they can't make the basket. So we got to teach the approach. And then like Chris says, you know, when they get in the car, just like Dusty was saying earlier, our goal, and to take pressure off of myself, is to say, listen guys, what we're going to do today is we're going to show you the door approach, the phone approach, and we're going to show you the presentation. And if we do enough of them, it leads to sales. So I take the pressure off of myself that I got to sell them today, but I want them to see multiple presentations so that they see that it's the same thing every time. Okay? Let's go on to the next slide. Next, please. All right, leads.
Leads. Is that me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Leads. If you hire a new agent, you got to make sure that they know how to get leads. You have to, everything from, you got to make sure your new agents have credit card authorization forms. You have to make sure they're getting the inventory. You got to make sure that they know how to do a monthly lead order. I don't think many people on my team know how to do that. That might be my fault. But with leads, we preach a lot about, another thing I wanted to say about leads, we preach a lot about gold, silver, bronze data, the cheaper leads, which I know, you know, a lot of new agents come in and they don't have necessarily a lot of money to get leads. But if you look at the top sellers, if you look at Amy Mason, Stephen Dean, AJ Ridout, Zach Gurley, they're buying platinum leads. They're buying high dollar leads. They're selling at the top level because they're getting new leads each week. So, I mean, if you want to sell at the top level, you're going to have to get there too. Now, how can you get a new agent there? Well, you can buy a group of leads, buy 15 platinum leads, take a new agent in the field with you, sell 2 or 3 of them, and recoup your costs, make some money, and give the rest to them. That's what I've done with a lot of new agents. But it's tough to live off of these bronze leads, data leads. You have to have some new leads in there too, for sure.
And along those lines, guys, you know, when I got started, my belief level was so high from seeing the leads, seeing them being sold, you know, hearing on the calls what other guys were doing. And, you know, it didn't faze me. I found a credit card and I invested $500 to get started. Be careful. You know, in the beginning, like most managers here, I hired anybody that could breathe. You know, you fog a mirror, I'd hire you, okay? But reality is they've got to have some money to get started. What business can you invest in and get started in for $600 and actually make money your first month? Guys, I got to tell you, it doesn't exist. My dad and I owned an independent dealership. We invested thousands of dollars, and it took a couple of years before you even made any money. So we need to convey the message, you know, when we're talking to people, it does take money to get started in this. Now, you got 2 choices. You're going to run into some people sometimes that Chris was talking about. We just don't have money. They don't have any money. Well, you've got 2 choices there. You've either got to tell them, hey, this might be the right opportunity, but just the wrong time. You know, you might need to go get a part-time job and save up some money to get started. Or if you really believe in them, you invest in them. You buy leads. Like Chris was saying, you know, you go out and you field train. You buy some new leads, some old leads, whatever. We go out, we show them how to work them, and we give them that badge. If you believe in them enough, you might keep purchasing leads for them to help them get started. So you got 2 choices. Either the wrong time if they're broke, or you've got to invest in them. And you can ask Keith Thomason. Keith, how many times you buy leads for agents? What time, what day, what week, right? That's exactly right. So when we're talking about leads, guys, you've got to get the belief up that makes them realize that they're buying commissions, okay? Show them and they'll buy. Let's go on to the next one. All right, schedule. All right, as Dusty mentioned before, guys, if you're not talking to the new prospects and when you're field training them about what their personal goals are, how do you know what to tell them to do? I mean, for example, I've had agents get started before and they only need $50,000 a year and that's all they want to make, okay? Then you've got others that want to get in and they want to make six figures their first year. Well, you need to sit down and you need to ask them the same thing Craig Harvey asked me. How much money do you need to make to keep the lights on? Then we'll dream together. Sometimes it's the same number. But when we're talking about schedules and leads, guys, if you know what they need, we can guide them by telling them how many leads do you need to buy, but what schedule do you need to work, okay? And what frustrates me, just like Keith said, is people will work harder for somebody else sometimes than they will for themselves. I don't get that. If you'll work an 8-hour day for somebody else and help them get their dream, why won't you do it for yourself? So we've got to communicate that. You've got to set that schedule. You've got to get in that car. You're driving while you're listening to the conference call. You're ready to get started as soon as it's off. With daylight saving time, guys, it's dark at 5:30 now, at least on the East Coast here, okay? So how do we handle that, okay? How do we go later? So you've got to talk about that schedule. You've got to communicate to them. You don't let mom call you. You don't let the wife call you. You're not window shopping. You're actually working those hours. You're either presenting or attempting to. And so when I'm communicating that, guys, it's 40, 45 hours a week in the field. That's not paperwork time. That's field time. You do this and you get 15 presentations in a week and you're calling up every single time, you'll make that $100,000 your first year. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is everything. To be successful in anything in life, consistency is most important. And for me, it's pretty simple. I mean, my schedule is I get on the conference call each morning, and then I'm out in the field afterwards, Monday through Friday. And if you've got full-time agents, they need to be on that conference call each day, and then just get out in the field afterwards. How do you get new agents on the conference call? Well, first of all, you need to be on the conference calls yourself. Where's Chelsea at? She needs to be on those conference calls herself. She wasn't in there for that one. And promote the call. Promote the call. I send out, I remember until I had 10 consistent agents on the call each day, I would send a text message to every single agent every morning with the conference call information and the code. Every agent I had, I sent it to them. Eventually, one guy was like, "Look, dude, I got it. I know what the call is each day." Send it to him the next day. Forget it. But consistency. Get on the calls. Get out in the field after the calls are over. I mean, it's not that hard. If you're part-time, I don't really have time for a lot of part-time anyway. So.
Yep, I understand. Let's go on to the next slide. All right. What do we do, Chris? When we get them started, we got to obviously give them apps, value sheets, things like that. What do you do there?
Mm-hmm. Well, with apps, you need to make sure you have an overabundance yourself. It used to be we would most everything was on paper apps. Now it's kind of going more towards electronic apps, which is great. But I'm still kind of in the paper app phase, and I just keep an abundance. If you look at my front door, I mean, my girlfriend, I've got papers everywhere. I've got apps everywhere. I keep an overabundance, to make sure my agents always have as many apps as they can use. Make sure you don't run out. Continue to order all the time. If you think you're getting low, order more. Another big thing with apps is if you hire a direct agent and they're new, make sure they're sending those apps to you after they fill them out before they send them to the carriers. There's nothing like having 1,000. Make sure those apps look right before you send them up. You need to have these new agents making money quickly. Apps pending on AgentNet Info, and so make sure they're sending you those apps. That's your responsibility if you hire somebody. Make sure those apps look right before you send them up. You need to have these new agents making money quickly. So.
One thing I'd like to add to that, guys, too, we're trying to make things easier for you. If you do anything more than once, you need to automate it, okay? So how many times do we sit down with an agent and we show them how to write an Americo app? We show them how to write a Transamerica app or Omaha app. Well, we have on NASB Dropbox right now 3 application webinars where you can direct them to. It covers everything from Mutual of Omaha, the Child's app, as well as Living Promise. We've got the Ultra Protector for Americo that Chris took care of, and we also have the Transamerica. With the help of the other managers, guys, we're going to have them all there. That way you can direct them. Hey, take that application, sit down with that webinar, and it will show you how to write that application, okay? So that'll make your job a little bit easier. But as Chris alluded to, you know, agent with all the companies, okay? Well, I got to tell you, it depends. You know, if you've got an agent that wants to get out and they want to write immediately, we have a few carriers that will let them go ahead and write business while they're pending, okay? So what I'll generally do is if I have an agent that wants to get started right away, I'll have them start with Transamerica, Mutual of Omaha, and now Great Western. I want to keep it simple. I want to get them comfortable writing those applications, and then we'll add another one later, and once the appointments start coming in. The thing I'm loving is these e-apps. Once we can get, you know, the appointments in, they can write the Americo Eagle Premier, and guess what, guys? Paid in 2 business days. I mean, our goal was to make sure that they're paid in 21 days or less, okay? With the Eagle Premier, they're paid in 2 business days. So I want them to write in that as quickly as possible. It takes their E&O insurance, though. So you got to make sure they got money to be able to buy that, okay? Mutual of Omaha, which we're going to learn about today. They've got the same day phone interview now, okay, for Living Promise. So we'll be able to get a decision on that. You've got Liberty Bankers. You know, you've got all those ones, Foresters, that we can do, help them get paid earlier. But make sure you're giving them the apps, you're giving them the value sheets. And when I say value sheets, guys, what I'm talking about is we've got a value sheet for Transamerica where you can sell the value of the company. We've got one for Americo. We've got one for Mutual of Omaha. We've got one now, thanks to Amy, for Foresters. So if you don't have those, get with your manager. You need to have those and give those out to your agents to get them started. Yes. The webinars are if you go to NASB Dropbox, the very bottom is webinars. So if you go in there, you can actually see those, okay? So let's go on to the next slide. Communication. All right. Guys, the last thing that we've got to make sure that we do with a brand new agent to make sure we get them started fast is communication. That doesn't include only the conference call. That's part of it. They need to be on there every day. But the first 30 days, they need to be talking with you every day. I mean every day. Not just calling up from the house, but you need to call them first thing in the morning. Hey, what do you need from me today to get started? Are you good with applications? Do you have any questions? Okay? They need to be talking to you at the end of the day. Okay? How did it go? Any problems? Let's talk about it. So, you know, be prepared. You've got to have that communication back and forth, and they have to be on that conference call every single day. Okay? Holding them accountable. Chris, what would you add to that?
I mean, constant communication every single day, every single day. I recently brought on Jeff Mabe and his wife, and we talked. They asked me questions. It's probably 5 times a day, every day. And now they're probably one of the top writers at NASB. You have to set expectations with your new agents. You know, I let new agents know, you know, we're going to have good days, we're going to have bad days. There's a learning curve with a new agent. There's going to be some bumps along the road. But you're going to get better. You're going to get better and better. We need to figure out, you know, do you like urban areas? Do you like working urban areas? Do you like working rural areas? You know, what kind of lead system, what kind of lead mix should we get for you? You need to have some new ones, obviously, but, you know, some old ones too. So just set expectations, and you're going to get better and better. And you have to motivate agents. And I think the best motivation are the calls in the morning. From the roll call, I cannot stand getting on that roll call and giving a 0. And a lot of people just don't get on the call if they have a 0. But get on that roll call and give a 0. It'll motivate you. And then you'll also hear things from Jordan. I mean, what he does in the mornings on that roll call is incredible. And Craig Harvey on Mondays, it fires me up every time. I have a long weekend, and Monday I might not be ready to go sell, but I get on that Monday call with Craig Harvey, and I'm fired up, ready to go. I love him, man. Thank you. And I send out reminders to every single one of my agents. Get on that dadgum call. And figure out what your agents are motivated by. People are motivated by different things. Some people are motivated by positive reinforcements. Some people are motivated by competitions. Read books. Read books on motivation. Personality Plus is a good book. People are different. You have to figure out how to motivate your agents. Competitions are great. But yeah.
Hey guys, one thing in closing I want to add, and we'll wrap this up so we can get to Mr. Craig Harvey, okay? If you're selfish, don't build. I can't put it any more blunt than that. If you've got an agent and there's leads where you like to work and they like to work, if you're not picking them, you shouldn't be building. Okay? So be unselfish and you'll be able to build a good team. Okay?
I can 100%. Greed will get you nowhere in this business. Matter of fact, your team will be gone in 2 seconds if you get greedy. That's exactly right.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. Lost track of time. AJ was rambling about something back there. All right. So, who's excited? Who's got a pee? Hold it for 30 more minutes. Y'all do not want to miss the last session. No early lunches. I promise we're taking a lunch break at noon. But we've got one more speaker, and he's the guy that put this all together. He's the guy who started NASB. He's the guy who had an initial dream. And I've learned more from Craig Harvey than anybody else in my career. Let me ask y'all this, guys. If you knew what you apply, for what Craig's going to talk about would double and triple your income, would you listen in? Would you take some notes? Would you take it back home to your cities? Well, I'll tell you, my first 6 months with Craig, I more than doubled and tripled. I quintupled my income from the prior insurance company just by applying the things that Craig taught me. I told Craig when I first met him, I said, I want to come to work with you. I trust you more than anybody else I've met in my career. I want y'all to hear from him today. Let's stand up and bring him to the stage. Mr. Craig Harvey time. Harvey!
Thanks, dude.
Oh.
Hey, all right. Sweet. Hey, before you sit down, here's what I want you to do. I like that song right there. I dance like a white man. Dressed like a black man. Well, look. All right, I want you to high five about 3 or 4 people around you and just high five them hard and say, Craig's going to be talking about me. Craig's going to be talking about me. That's what I want you to do. It's good. All right. Best builders session I have ever heard. Give it up for the guys and gals that came before me. If there were any gals, there should have been. We good on this? Is this mic going to work? Maybe. We'll change if it doesn't. Adjust on the fly. I want to thank you guys for coming. A year ago in November, I lost my dad and I lost my grandfather. Within about 2 weeks of each other, a year ago. And before both of them died, they told me the same thing And neither one of them really liked each other because my mom and dad divorced, and so things happen in life. But unbeknownst to the other one, they said, look, my time's coming. My dad was young. He was 65. My grandfather was a little older. He was 81, Cherokee Indian, long hair. I'd like to be a lot like him. If you could do a little bit up there for what's up here, sir, I'd appreciate it. But nonetheless, they pretty much said, it's on you. It's on you. You're the oldest son. You're the oldest grandson. And we're kind of handing you the baton. And what is going to happen in our family, Farmer name and Harvey name, we're going to put on you. How many know a little bit of what I'm talking about? That when it comes down to your name, your kids, your future, your tomorrow, years from now, you know, unless your last name's Milner, and no offense, I love the guy, but mine's not, right? No rich uncle, no rich grandfather. When I got into this business, I did it because I had to do it, right? Failure meant foreclosure. If it didn't happen, it wasn't like I could go and ask someone to bail me out of the mess that I was in. And so many things that these guys have said before me, I'm going to repeat because it's in my notes, but it echoes truth and it's right. My grandfather built houses. My dad built churches. That's what both of them did. And they both understood one powerful truth, and that is the absolute necessity of a foundation. A foundation. They understood something that you'll only go as high as your base is wide. And one of the mistakes that I made for years was not really understanding that team building was about people building. And that if you're going to be a successful team builder, you have to be a great people builder. Now, for years, I thought it was easier maybe to hire somebody new than maybe to develop somebody old. Anybody been there? Where if you're not careful, you miss out on that great statement that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, you may have some agents right now and you're like, dude, these guys suck, right? Until you hire the new batch and you're like, oh my God, these guys suck worse, right? I always tell people the worst thing isn't for your agents not to write business. The worst thing is for your agents to write bad business. And for all that stuff to roll up to you, because if their business goes south, guess what? It comes north. And you're left holding the bag. And so one of the things that I have tried to instill within my 4 horsemen is confidence. I have learned that sales is confidence. And it's not cockiness. It's not a false sense of faking it till you make it. A real, genuine, quiet confidence. Because the more confident my agents are, not just in a home, but in front of new prospects, guess what? The better they're going to come across. I think Pastor Keith said it, people buy you before they buy NASB. I really believe that. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. I want you to write this down. Growth requires sacrifice. Growth requires sacrifice. I was telling Jordan earlier, I believe with all my heart, anybody in this room can make $250,000, $250,000 in the NASB system if you're willing to sacrifice enough things. It is impossible to add anything without subtracting something. And so in my very first few minutes here this morning, I want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. I want to make sure you understand exactly what it is that you're getting into, because herein lies the issue. What are you willing to go home and subtract in order to add? Here's the weird thing about this business. You do the business to make enough money to be able to do the things you like, right? But in order to be able to make enough money to do the things you like, you got to give up the things you like. Isn't that really screwed up? Like, I love golf. I love working out. I went for 3 years, never picked up a golf club, never picked up a weight. I looked like Chris Canrobert. It was terrible. But I understood if I want to grow, guess what? I've got to give up some things. If I want to add, guess what? I got to subtract some stuff. And I just don't think people understand that something has to be removed in your life if you're going to make room for the team you say you want. So I put in my notes here that every level of addition requires a degree of subtraction. Have you learned that yet in your business? that every time you grow, you gain some things, but you lose some things as well? Have you noticed that? And you got to be willing to make that trade, and you're the only one that can do it. Every morning, every night, every weekend, you've got to be willing to exchange those things. Watch, for a season. It's not forever. I could play golf every day now if I wanted. So could Jordan. So could Pastor Keith. So could many of you. But it didn't start like that. So write this down if you would. Growth eliminates space. Some of you that have gained 10 pounds in the last 2 months can give me a little Presbyterian nod about that, can't you? These jeans fit around the summer, Craig, but I'm going into my winter weight. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Everybody's got a winter weight, right? You know what I'm talking about? Growth eliminates space. Not just in your body, but also in your world, your free time. You got to give up some things. Jordan, I love the story where you said that you were the #1 Madden player in the U.S. Is that true? Did you make that up? You make a lot of crap up, son. I never know when to believe you anymore. Jordan says he was the #1 Madden player in the U.S. I'd still like a shot at that so-called paper title he says he has there. My defense is hard to penetrate, son. $100, by the way, $100. I'm just saying. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, you're going to have to give up some things if you are going to get what you say you want. For Jordan, it was Madden. For me, it was golf. For you, it may be Facebook. Imagine how much time you spend just looking on Facebook. Facebooking folks, right? Tweeting folks, you know? Looking on different Instagrams and this and that and the other. Good, do me a favor, stand up if you're under 30. If you're under 30, buddy, sit down, dude, you old. Stand up if you're under 30. Look at this, man. Jordan, look at this. This is crazy. This is unbelievable. If I did that, you could sit down. If I started as young as you, I wouldn't have to be doing what I'm doing now. I love what I do. But what an opportunity you guys have in front of you, but you got to give up some stuff. Here's the other thing I've learned. Growth also creates some things, doesn't it? It creates stability. You grow a team, it'll stabilize your whole life, man. It's a good friend of mine that went through a bad season about a year and a half ago at NASB. You know him. If I called his name, you know exactly who he was. Went through some stuff personally, and I told him, I said, bro, take off. I don't want to hear from you, see you. You fix you. You fix you is what I told my boy. And I said, I'll be in charge of your team. I'll take every phone call. I'll do every in and up. I'll handle everything you need. You keep making the money. And you know what the crazy thing was? His team grew when he stepped out of the way. Not that he was in the way, let me be clear. But isn't it amazing that you can be a part of something that gives you that kind of an ability, that kind of stability? How about generosity? Growth creates generosity too, doesn't it? Isn't it great to be able, any of you go to church? Any church folks in here? Me too, man. I go, there was times I'd hear the pastor talk about something that he was passionate about, and I was like, man, I'd love to be able to do something, with this. I'd love to be able to give to this. It was we were in church the other day, and he brought in these young ladies that had been victims of sex trafficking. 12, 13, 14-year-old girls on stage, just beautiful Romanian young women, teenagers, if you will, that had been bought out of sex trafficking. He said, look, somebody out here can give $10,000 right now. You can do 10 grand right now. Somebody else can do 20 grand. I nudged my wife. I said, that's us. Write a check. Am I bragging? Heck yeah, I'm bragging. Why? Because that's what growth gives you the ability to do. See, I said this last time I was on this stage, Pastor Keith. Money makes you more of what you already are. I know. So if you're a butthole, guess what? You're going to be a rich butthole. If you're a giver, you're going to be a rich giver, right? So wealth gives you an opportunity. Generosity gives you options. And look, I hate it when people say it's not all about the nice house and the nice car. Anybody that's ever said that was born rich. Shut up. You didn't live in a trailer. You didn't shop at garage sales like I did. You didn't, put stuff on layaway and still wasn't able to afford it when it was Christmas time. You know what I'm talking about? So don't talk to me about how it's not all in what you have and it's not all in the money. Hush, I'm not saying it is, but it's better to be on this side than that side. Especially if you can see a way to do it and it's legal and you can keep your clothes on. Say amen, somebody. That is some good stuff right there. Pastor, I read where 70% of the divorces that happened in 2014 came because both the husband and the wife were in the workforce. Does that mean if you make enough money to pull your wife out of the workforce, you divorce-proof your marriage? No, I'm just telling you what the stat says. Wouldn't it be amazing for you to position yourself, whatever you want to do? It gives you options. So I think we all agree and we understand the power of growth, but how do we get there? Real growth requires a shift in balance. I'd like you to write that down. Real growth requires a shift in balance, or let's say priorities. How about that? Okay? You have to put a priority on growing if you're going to see results. So I'm hearing a lot of people these days, Randy, talk about balance. I'm reading some books, and I'm like, dude, this is garbage. This is wrong. I'm reading these books, people talking about a balanced life, balanced family, balanced priorities, balanced diet, balance. Let me just, balance is going to get you average. This little seesaw here, thank you, Tracy, this is balanced. Why? Because there's an equal amount of weight on each side. Can I tell you, Michael Jordan didn't know anything about balance. Old boy was obsessed. When I listen to Keith Thomason, I see an obsession in him and on him, and it's not just words, he lives it. Wayne Gretzky was obsessed with hockey, right? Jordan Spieth, obsessed with golf. Babe Ruth was obsessed with baseball. Jordan Smith, obsessed with Final Expense. Amy Mason, obsessed. Not balanced. I hear that. It's so funny. Y'all kill me, man. You know, I'll get people on the call, and I work these Friday calls for some guys now, and somebody will give their numbers for the week, you know, 2,300 off 3 apps, 4 presentations, 8 referrals for the week, 2 scheduled for today. It's a Friday call. We give our weekly numbers. And then I'll call them, and they're like, oh, Craig, I'm just working so hard. I am just working so hard. They don't actually talk like that, but that's how I hear them talking, you know. And I'm like, yeah, dude, so how many doors do you knock on this week? I must have knocked on like 16 doors. In a day? No, all week. It took me all week to find 16 doors to knock on. What? That is not enough of an investment, or a priority on your part to get the results you're looking for, especially if you're out of balance. So let's just say you're out of balance right now. You're not building anything. You're not maybe selling anything. I know tomorrow's sales. But I want you to understand just how much of an investment you have to make. You can't just put your hand, well, I called the lead and they didn't answer. What am I supposed to do? I called them and they said they weren't interested, not to come over. The leads suck. They lied to me. I've been lied to, you know? Craig, I really, you think I'm kidding? I really want, great results, but, I work 3.5 days a week and I've got to have an emotional day just to, What? What are you talking about, man? You ride around in an air-conditioned car, dude. And if you don't, you will, because you'll buy one if you keep selling like we teach you to sell. Heated if you're up north, cooled if you're down south. You listen to talk radio, and you talk to people who filled out a card and are going to buy. It just depends on what's the cheapest and who do they like the most. And I want you to understand this. When Jordan built this thing, man, he went all stinking in. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, when I built NASB, it is all I did. Forget balance. You've got to go crazy with this thing for a season. This has to be all you do for a few years. And if that happens, I'm telling you, it's impossible for you to fail. So most of you came here looking how to get more people, right? Right? All right. I submit for your consideration, that is not the question you need to be asking. It's not about how you get more people. The issue is you getting the right people. I want you to write down the right people. See, you're talking to somebody that screwed up before, and the worst thing in the world is for you to grow with the wrong people. If you ever mess around and hire or position the wrong leader in a place of influence, you are in trouble, dude. Because you've already announced them, you've already kind of anointed them as a leader, they have people underneath them, you've already talked about how great that snake in the grass is. You didn't see the wolf, you just saw the sheep's clothing, you know what I'm talking about? And now you got some jackleg that's got power and influence, and you're like, oh crap, right? Because so many times we're just so hard up, we're just so, just just absolutely fiending for anybody that'll give us a contract, anybody that'll give us a contract, anybody that'll give us a contract. And I've been there, man. I've been there. I understand what it is. But I want to show you something this morning or afternoon that I think really, really works. I'm going to mention some names. Jordan Smith, Chris Isbell, Isaac Smith, Buddy Lawhead, Donnie Fransco, Evan Proch, Matt Rochelle, Chris Canrobert, Dave Stewart, Jason Van Hanswick. None of them were all-stars before we hired them. And what we do in insurance, Greg, is we keep looking for the next Buddy Lawhead. He's not Buddy when you meet him. He's a guy that works at Siggers and cuts hair and takes your money on Friday nights in poker. Jordan Smith called me, little, skinny. He's gained a little weight. He weighed about $105 back then. And he's up to about $138 now, looking real good. No agents, no team, no nothing. When I found my bigs, when I found my studs, they weren't studs when I found them. And I don't want to say that we want to hire losers. I call them closet winners. So when you're looking for these people, look for somebody that's a closet winner. Don't necessarily look for a first-round draft pick. Look for somebody, Scott, that once you do something with them and they start believing in you and they start just really understanding, Scott has been there for me. The number one thing you need to build a dynasty is loyalty. Loyalty. I'll take a 6 that I can trust and turn my back on over a 9 that's supposedly a beast any day. You feel what I'm saying? That's important for you to understand. So when you're looking for these guys, when you're trying to hire these guys, stop trying to find somebody as good as you. I don't want anybody as good as me. I don't. Then you're going to want my job. George's as good as me, but I try to keep him in the background as much as I can. Hopefully Chad won't fire me and hire him. I hope that doesn't happen, right? My point is, stop looking for first-round draft picks. Find somebody that's made 50, 60, 70, 80 grand that you can coach, that you can teach, and you know what? Some great things will happen. So I'm going to give you 4 things this morning, and I'm going to get out of your way. 4 things. And I've talked so many of these things, man. So many of these we've done. And when I went back, I said, Jordan, I could recycle something, but this is all stuff. And obviously, I think my big 4 are big. I talk about leads, schedule, presentation, communication. You can write those down. I'm going to jump into them tomorrow, so I'll leave a lot of meat on that bone for tomorrow morning. You got to buy leads, man. You got to submit to me a goal-based schedule. You got to be a good presenter. I got to listen to it. I got to make sure you don't suck, because it's my money. It's not your money if you fail as a builder. And then you got to be a communicator. You can't be some lone wolf, Batman in the middle of nowhere, you know, with a mask with no eyes cut out of it. I got to be able to be in business bed with you. This is everything. You could bankrupt me if I do this wrong. Is anybody listening to me? So I'm not going to talk about that. But you got to do that. What I'm going to talk about is the first thing you got to create is opportunity. 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 Jason Van Hanswick, where are you, son? I thought phenomenal job from Jason this morning, talking about how leads that we sell mirror ads that you run. Brilliant analogy, and it's absolutely true. When I talk to people at a Starbucks, on an airplane, at an airport, at a restaurant, at a church, at a ball field, at a bar, I have 2 main comments that I make. And I'd like you to write these down because they work for me. Number 1, do you love what you do? You love what you do? Dude, you look miserable, man. You look like you hate what you do. What do you do? Number 2, are you married to your job? You married to your job, man? I'll throw you one right here. Are you in the career you feel like you're going to be able to retire in? Yes or no? Because if you give me just a little bit of daylight, look out. Dude, let me tell you about me. Let me tell you about my... See, we've taught this 4-minute rule before. Have you guys heard me talk about this 4-minute rule? Sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as heaven, and an expert in your field. It's supposed to be enthusiastic as hell, but we're in a church, so it's enthusiastic as heaven. Yeah, anyway. 4-minute rule. If I have a chance to talk to Randy, I got 4 minutes. I better be sharp as a tack. I better be enthusiastic as heaven, and I better be an expert in my field. I get 4 minutes to be able to transfer something about me that he can say, dude, there's something about that guy or gal that can take me to a place I'm not at. And that, in my opinion, is the secret sauce to what it is that initially creates an opportunity. Let me just talk about some mistakes I see some of us make. You think selling the opportunity is an event. It's not an event. It's a journey. You don't have one conversation with them, and they're all in. I got a buddy of mine works here. He keeps talking, man, I talked to this agent. He's all in. He's ready. And I said, well, man, text me his number. I'll call him, and I'll call the guy. Hey, Craig Harvey, NASB, how you doing? Who are you? Craig Harvey, NASB, one of the founders. Just called. Well, in NCSB, what now? What is that? NCIS? What is it? You work on a television show? No, dude. Final expense, Atlanta. And here's a guy thinking someone was absolutely all in who doesn't even know who we are. One of the things I've learned about this business is people only tell you a percentage of the truth as it pertains to their level of commitment in the initial beginning stages. And so one of the things I'd encourage you to do if you're going to grow is understand that selling the opportunity is a series of experiences and conversations over time, okay? And I don't want to beat a dead horse or belabor a point that you guys have done a great job in connecting, but when you get a chance to sell the opportunity, get them in touch with as many people as you possibly can. As many people as you possibly can. I would do a minimum, I think Garrett or someone mentioned this, I would do a minimum of 3 ride-alongs per beast. 3 ride-alongs per beast. Now, can somebody tell me how I know if somebody's going to be a beast or not? I don't. So you got to treat everybody like they're just maybe the next Jordan Smith. You got to treat everybody like they're just maybe the next Amy Mason. But if you're really going to grow your company, and this is where the rubber meets the road, guys, field training has to be at the center of what you do. Showing people how it is you've gotten to where you are. People must see or sense something about you they want. Does that make sense? Showing your 1099s. Showing your bank statements, showing your write-ups in the Pulse, listening to you talk on the call because you're in the top 3, listening to you being nominated for an award at convention, listening to you win an award at convention. And I guess what I'm saying is, if you suck, why in the world would anybody want to work for you? I wouldn't. So it is true that if you want to go to a higher level, you got to step your personal game up. And as you do that through production, guess what? That's where reproduction comes in. That's when you begin to reproduce it. Jordan, by the way, you totally butchered my short analogy or acronym. S stands for story. History, you want to know their history, you goober. Get it right. Their history, okay? Opportunity was pretty good, but, talk NASB, Milner Group, opportunity, ours right along. Let's hang out on that word S, your story. Your story is the most powerful weapon you have, quickly. Selling the opportunity, your story. Your story is the most powerful weapon you have in selling the opportunity is, hey, dude, this is what's happened for me. This is what this company's done for me. This is what NASB has created for me. When people come to work with you, they are coming to work because of you. If you sign at LSU, you're going there because of Les Miles. If somebody comes to Georgia, which the way we're playing, nobody would, they're coming because Mark Richt is maybe leaving. You know what I'm saying? If somebody signs with Alabama, they're coming because Nick Saban is there. That's the reason. So when somebody comes on board, yes, Jordan plays a role in it. Yes, Keith. Yes, Scott and these leaders. But it's you, man. So what do you have to have? Confidence. You got to believe in you. You got to know you can get her done. You got to know if there's money in the house, I'm going to get it. You got to know, dude, you can trust your future with me and not be BSing them, right? Because people will sense that and smell that if it isn't the truth. You got that? Ride-alongs, quickly. You guys mentioned some things about ride-alongs. I think one of the things that I was the best at was ride-alongs. And you're right, Jordan. Van Hand quoted you, and you quoted me, goober, when I said, if I'm competing for Randy, my standard line, Randy, ride with whoever is recruiting you's top guy. Then come ride with me. I'm not saying I'm our top guy, dude, but I'm who you're stuck with. Whoever you trust your future and family with more, that's who you need to sign with. And that's shut up. Yeah, I made $1,000 yesterday, plan on making 1,000 today. Maybe make 2,000 tomorrow. Sometimes I get punched in the mouth, but not often. I can't sell, sick, broke, or dumb, but if there's money in the house, I'll get it. You want me to teach you how? That's how you do it. That's what works. And anybody can stink and do that. Don't tell me you can't. And then when you get them in the car, call everybody, man. Call everybody. You do such a great job of this, Phoenix. Calling everybody. Well, I called one time and they didn't answer. Call back. You guys kill me. Well, Craig, I tried to call you and it went to voicemail. Did you call back? Jordan, will I not call you 15 times if I need to speak to you? Seriously. How many? Exactly. It's important. So is it important when you have maybe the next beast that they speak with people that can not just encourage them to work with you, but as high as you can go, being able to reach out to these people? Of course it does. You got to sell the opportunity. Number 2, quickly, you got to create community. You got to create community. I went back to the very beginning, man, in this. Have you noticed you can't spell community without unity? So when we first started NASB, I really didn't as much care about the money because I was always broke and making like a couple $100,000 to me was just like, oh my God, that would be amazing. And it is amazing. It's better to make it a month than in a year, though. I'm just saying. It's still amazing, though, right? I'm just saying. Come on, I'd celebrate yours if you get there. I'm telling you. That means I'd make more, right? Yeah, hey, Just kind of kidding. I'm kind of kidding. So, quickly, as I've got 3 more points, got the spirit of Pastor Keith on me here. You got to have a unified team. When I built NASB in the beginning, Jordan will tell you, Chris, Isaac, Tony at the time, I brought my boys together and said, look, we are not going to all hate each other. You remember that, Jordan? I said, you guys are not going to bicker and fuss and be jerks and just pricks and not get along. Because guess what? If you do, I'll find somebody else to replace you. Because I ain't playing that game. Homie, don't play that. We're not building it that way. Everybody understand? You can want to whip his butt and you can want to be bigger than him, but we are not having disunity within the ranks. And whenever I see people that don't have unity on their teams, guess what? Inevitably they crumble. Inevitably they crumble. Companies crumble. Industries crumble, right? Teams crumble because there's no unity. I went back to the beginning. When I first started building, I went like 0 for 50 trying to hire people. Swear to God. Sick, broke, dumb, not the clients. I'm talking about the agents, right? I mean, morons, goobers, man. And you know how it is when you're waiting for somebody and you want them to be sharp and you're like, Dave Stewart, he's walking and you're waiting on Cody and you're like, be Cody, be Cody, be Cody. And Dave walks right by, it's not him, and then some just absolute grandpa with a walker, comes up and he's like, hi, I'm Cody, I'm ready for the ride along. You know what I'm talking about? And you're like, crap. You ever been there? You're not field training enough if you haven't been there, okay? One of the things I have learned is that you sometimes have to create an environment for these guys to get to know each other. And I'm just taking you back to the beginning. I drove an hour and a half every Monday morning for 2.5 years. From Loganville, buddy, where we live, to Marietta off of Ashford Dunwoody Road. That was where I rented a Regis office. Some of you were talking about investing in yourselves. Nobody helped me pay that bill. Crooked Tooth didn't help me pay that bill. I paid that bill. He didn't invest in that Regis office. I paid for that Regis office. I paid for our lunch. I invested in myself, invested in my people. I'd leave about 6:30. I'd get there about 8. Everybody was supposed to show up about 8:30. They finally show up about 9 o'clock. I did it every single Monday for 2.5 years. Built a dynasty at that company. That's why Jordan followed me. If somebody said, Craig, what was it that enabled you to do that? That meeting. Just getting everybody together, building unity, building unity, building unity. Pastor Keith took my note here about building a bonfire over a campfire. It's absolutely true. Build in your backyard. Many of you heard the story when I was flying to see Evan Proach. I sat beside her. Actually, I was already seated. Richard Anderson, the president and CEO of Delta, sat beside me. Pretty cool, huh? He's an old bald goober, but he's pretty cool. And we talked. And I said, look, I'm not going to light you up, but I'm a young business developer. I'm in the senior market, and I just like to pick your brain. Why is Delta Delta? Why do you guys whip Southwest? Why are you so much better than British Airways or airlines? Why are you guys as great as you are? And without blinking, he said, our culture. Our culture. He said, our culture drives our commerce. Our culture drives our commerce. Our culture drives our commerce. And I'm telling you now, if you can get the right culture, and at NASB we have it, it's keeping it now. But as a young team builder, if you can look to do that, things will just expedite for you. What am I talking about? Do a monthly breakfast with your team. Do it. Do it. Go home and do it. Don't write this crap down and say, I'm going to do this. And then this time next year, I meant to get around to that. Stop it. Do it. Do a monthly luncheon. Do a dinner of an evening with people. Go to Bible. You know, George, what I used to do? Whoever was the agent of the month chose the monthly momentum enhancer is what I called it, that we would engage in. And so I've always had a fear of ice skating. I've always thought I'd fall on the ice and like one of the blades would cut my finger off. I mean, clowns, ice skating, and a few other things I won't mention, but it really scare me. Ice skating is one of them. Shirley Hill won Age of the Month, and we had to go ice skating. And as a man of my word, we went ice skating, and I faced that fear. Why? Because Shirley, did I like ice skating? Heck no. It's not about you. It's about who wins the monthly momentum enhancer. Jordan, you do such a great job of this, man. When we first started hanging out, you were so community driven. It's a family. Your house is like an absolute zoo. It's a beautiful zoo, as I understand. But every time I call you, dude, everybody's in my house. It's crazy. People are always over here. Van Hand lives with you half the time. You know, I mean, it's crazy, right? You know, you understand the power of community. Can I encourage you guys to do that? The team that plays together stays together. Community, 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 community. Culture, culture, culture is going to drive commerce. 3, I'm almost done. You got to create accountability. Accountability. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm non-compliant. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like it when I've only got 1 minute left. You know, I just don't like being told what to do. So I get it. Accountability is hard for me to implement with others unless I receive it myself. Anybody understand that? But it's huge, man. Let me talk to you really quick about accountability. Accountability is born from a word called goals. G-O-A-L-S, goals. The parents of accountability are goals and discontent. Matter of fact, goals and discontent hooked up one night, had a baby, named him accountability. Goals and discontent got together, and the offspring of that wonderful evening was accountability. Accountability is, boy, I just can't get my agents to call in their numbers. I just can't get their agents to report on time. I just can't get my agents to support the call. Well, sometimes you got to let them get punched in the mouth. And you're a lot more teachable after you got your butt kicked a little bit. Make sense? So accountability comes from disliking where you are and having a plan to change your reality. Accountability comes from disliking where you are and having a game plan to change your reality. So here's what I do when I hire any agent. It's really easy. I say, look, I want your goals. I've got a new guy here that flew all the way in, paid his own way from LA. I'm going to sit down with him and say, Justin, what are your goals, man? What do you want to do? I'm not going to tell you what to do. You tell me what you want to do. So you may have loftier goals than I have for you. You know, I may show you something and you laugh at it. You want 3 times as much. I don't know. What do you want? You tell me what you want. Then I'm going to create a game plan for him to get there. More than likely, Keith, none of my competitors have done that for him. So if you want to make 200, here's our game plan. Here's what you need to write. Here's how many leads you need to buy. Here's how many agents we need to have. And we're going to have some checkpoints to see how far along the way we are. Okay? Does everybody hear what I'm saying there? Instead of just hiring them and just letting them go do what they want to do, and then whenever the going gets tough, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remind him of his goals. I'm going to say, dude, this is your vision. This is your dream. This is what you wanted for yourself. That, folks, is the way you build an empire. This is how I built it. I was sitting in my house. I've got dozens of little white pad note pages, just like that manila yellow folded note pages, and I would simply do the numbers. AP written off how many apps? Presentations given, free leads collected, appointments scheduled. And let's say, what is your name, dear? Karen, let's say you have 6 appointments scheduled on a Tuesday, and on the Wednesday call, you only gave 3 presentations. Who do you think's holding her accountable to ask, why in the world didn't you give 6, Karen? We had 6 scheduled. You only gave 3, honey. What happened? Now what do you think that's going to do to Karen the next time she has 6 scheduled and only gives 3? She's expecting me to inspect the numbers. And that ain't fun, man. That ain't fun. That sucks, actually. But that's what you got to do. That's what you say you signed up for. And that's the way you do it. Through accountability. Through leading them based on what they want. I put in my notes here that accountability creates advancement. Accountability creates advancement. Some of you mentioned the daily call. And I just want to tell you that is a beauty pageant that you need to plug more people into. That is such an opportunity. When I talk to guys about, look, do you love your job? Are you married to what you do? I give them a call. I say, dude, listen to this call. These are people that love what they do. They're changing lives and they're building wealth. That daily call is huge. It's your opportunity. It's your shot to be able to plug people into the successes of your peers. Why in the world wouldn't you avail more people to that? It's an amazing opportunity for you to grow your organization. I'm almost done. I read this week where humans are 400% more likely to achieve a goal when they know someone is watching. 400% more likely to achieve a goal when they know someone is watching. Every Sunday night for the past 4 years since NASB's been alive, some of you will attest to this, you get text messages, don't you? Guess who they're from? Right here. You say, how do you know who to text? I don't. Whoever's on my heart, I shoot them a text. And I send at least 70, maybe 80 texts every Sunday night. I don't know why Sunday night, I just do it. Going into a new week, you've been beat up, need to get you fired up, need to get you ready. And there are little things like, hey, Ron, just thinking about you, bro. I noticed last week you only did 3,600 and your goal is 5,000. What have I just done? I've told him, number one, I memorized his goal. I memorized how much he wrote. I may put in there how many apps. Dude, I'm here this week to make sure you get to where you need to go. That's what it takes, guys. That's what you say. Oh, well, Craig, I just want to hire him. I just want to hire him and, give him to Jordan and let him be field trained. And I just want to override him. But if you put some people under me, I'll do a heck of a job for you. I'm a great overrider. Let me tell you, I'm the best overrider you ever found. You're a moron, dude. That is not the way this business works, okay? The accountability comes from you, and people will only expect what they know you're inspecting. Last point, Jordan gave me 5 more minutes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will be done. Create persistency. Persistency. Last point. Persistency. Work with your agents slowly on how to undersell a policy. Work with your agents on when Miss Johnson picks an 87. Now, Miss Johnson, I want to make sure you can afford this 87 for the rest of your life, which I hope is about 30 years, right? You being 60. Is this going to take food off your table? Work with them on persistency, making sure they get it right, okay? Work with them on branding. Teach every agent you hire the power of branding. Miss Johnson, before I leave today, tell me again why you chose to take this $20,000 final expense life insurance policy. And then if her answer doesn't sell you that she's sold, you need to do more work, son. You need to do more work, honey. It's a learned behavior. Make yourself do it. Teach your agents that power. Teach them about delivering policies. Teach them about proper sales technique, because creating persistency is the way long-term you're going to make a ton of money. What I have learned is that agents get chargebacks because their approach is off, right? It's the same way we as builders get chargebacks as it pertains to losing agents. You show me an individual that lost business in the field, I'll show you an individual that loses agents on their team. But if you show me somebody that can write clean and write pure and write stuff that sticks, guess what? It's the same set of skills, if you mirror it, that enable you to get to where you want to go. So let me give you some nuggets on that. How do you create persistency? I'm not talking about the persistency now of making business stick. I'm talking about the persistency now of being a persistent agent, right? Right? We know it's modeled. We know it's rewarded. We know it's highlighted. Number one, do a 5 o'clock power call. Do a 5 o'clock power call. I used to do this all the time in the beginning because daylight savings time has hit, right? I don't care if you're like, well, Craig only got 4 agents. Well, it'll be a short call. Well, I got 24 people. Well, the hungry will show up when it's time to eat. Put them on that 5 o'clock power call and just be like, dude, who's got something? We used to talk about how when we were growing back in the beginning, the vampires come out at night. The vampires and the final expense agents come out at night. Y'all ready to go? Come on, it's 5 o'clock. The day's not over, baby. Day's not over. If you caught a fish before 5, you got lucky. But the real fish bite at night. The real fish bite at night. We used to say that back and forth all the time. Well, that's a great idea. I need to do that. Dang right you need to do that. It'll work if you work it. So try a 5 o'clock power call. It creates persistency. How about handwritten notes? When's the last time you sent your agent a handwritten note? Well, I text them. I text people too. But take it a minute to write a handwritten note and say, listen, bro, you're a bulldog in this business. You're a warrior in this industry. You're somebody that I trust and believe in. Sometimes you got to tell people what you see in them in order for them to live up to it. Don't think all these people just were born great. No, I saw greatness in them and just coached it into them. And then you know what? They lived up to what we said. Had some other good stuff. Listen, quickly. Hire gritty agents. Gritty agents. Write that down. Gritty. Gritty agents. Agents that are blue collar. Agents that just have a fight about them, right? Agents that know what work is. Guys, we can give you a lot of things. But grit above all else will enable you to build what you say you want to build. We can give you contracts. We can give you leads. We can give you carriers. We can give you websites. We can give you conventions. We can give you seminars. We can give you apps. We can give you training, but we can't give you grit. You bring that here, and we'll handle the rest. Jason Van Hanswick.
All right. Just another phenomenal speech from Craig Harvey. Give it up for him. He always finds a way to leave us better than he found us. Well, today has been a phenomenal session on not only how to grow your agency, but how to truly impact the lives of those who you bring on to work with. And there's one guy in this room who has done that better than anyone I've ever seen in all regards. In fact, he's the reason we're all in this room right now. Jordan, if you can join me up here for a moment, sir. For me, when I started bringing people on, I wanted to double, triple, quadruple check that North American Senior Benefits was a company that I could look people directly in the eye and tell them there's no better system out there. And so while you're learning your competition, I started not only learning how their systems work, but I learned about the individuals and how quickly they were able to succeed. And if you folks want to check the pulse of an organization, it boils down to two things. Look around the room and see how many 6- and 7-figure earners there are. More importantly, how quickly did they get there? Folks, there is no other organization out there that has done what North American Senior Benefits has done in the time that they've done it. This award will probably never be given again. This is a jade crystal. This is for the best in the business. Jordan, buddy, you've changed my life. You've changed the lives of everyone here. You're going to pack this room tomorrow. There's nobody who is better than you, sir. It's an honor to be a privilege. Honor and privilege to be a friend and to work with you, buddy. On behalf of your core five, you are the best in the business. Jordan Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Y'all sit down. Thank you, guys. I mean, gosh. Really, we should bring Tracy Williams up here. Did y'all see what Tracy's done with the stage and putting all this whole event together? Not to mention woman handling the whole region as she does. So I hope this was a helpful session this morning, guys. Before we break to lunch, I just want to tell y'all got this. Y'all got it. You know how you were created perfectly. This really helped me when I found this out. I used to struggle with self-image, self-confidence. I wanted to try to be, I'd hear other people say, man, I can't be like Craig Harvey, or I can't be like Keith Thomason. And then somebody told me from stage, they weren't talking directly to me, but they said, Jordan, you were created perfectly to be you. Tim Davis, you were created perfectly to be you. Nobody can be better than you. And for everybody in this room, you're enough. However you were created, you're enough to succeed in this business model. Not only were you created perfectly, you were planted perfectly in this model to succeed in this system. So I hope y'all realize that. I hope you take that away from this convention. Sometimes building it feels like almost like a space shuttle. I read a statistic on space shuttles that it takes 80% of their energy just to get off the ground, then only 20% to go all the way to outer space. That's what it feels like sometimes. That's what it felt like for me. Craig mentioned going through 50 hires until he found somebody good. Y'all have got this if you stick with it, if you stay persistent. I'm honored to be part of this team. I'm honored to work with you guys every single day, every week. And so before we break for lunch, by the way, today was just a start. Tomorrow, y'all want to be here early to hear Chad Miller kick things off. Craig's got a phenomenal session tomorrow. We're going to hear from a lot of y'all also on how you're succeeding in this system. But before we break for lunch, a couple quick announcements. We've got carrier tables set up, so if you need any carrier information, we've got goodie bags outside. You get your little NASB growth band. We've got lanyards, all kinds of stuff out there, name badges if you have not gotten one yet. The carrier workshops start back at 1 o'clock. So whoever you signed up for, please attend that workshop. If you haven't signed up, see me. We'll get you in one. And we've got, what do we have, exactly 47 minutes until that. Let's go ahead and break for lunch. We've got honey baked ham out there. Pick your sandwich, and we'll see y'all at the top.